Alright folks, and we are live. What's going on? Hope all is well with you folks. We are back with another stream here. We took, some time off. It was a hiatus for sure, but we are back. And there's plenty to discuss, of course, as always. And let me just let the people know, as always, that we are live. For all the people that want to come in and see it live for themselves. Give me 1 second, folks. We shall begin. Let's see what questions are asked. A lot of good questions that were asked pre-live stream as well. So thank you to all who had questions, and if you want to be one of those people, join my Discord or leave it in any comment sections of these podcasts, and I'll answer them in the next one. And the thing is, when you do it pre-live stream, I can get more in depth, right? Because I prepare for those, because those questions have already been asked. On here, if you ask it in live time, well, it's off the top of my head. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's not as in depth as it could be. So. Alright, we've let the people know. Let us begin. Alright, so it's a lot of what if questions asked today. So the first good question that I was asked here was, what if Karin got with Sasuke? Right, so what if in an alternate timeline Karin got with Sasuke? What would that entail of? What would that storyline or timeline entail of, right? So this is what would be the case. So if this were to happen, it would mean that Sasuke finally succumbed to Karin's advances and would most likely result in them clearly having children, right? So they would have a half Uzumaki, half Uchiha child, which is kind of interesting to think about. So this child would more than likely have, the Uchiha Kekkei Genkai being the Sharingan, and on top of that would have Uzumaki type chakra levels, right? So imagine that. You have this Kekkei Genkai that is famous throughout the shinobi world, and you also have very high chakra levels, since that's what Uzumakis are known for, right? Karin, Nagato, Naruto, Naruto's mother, they all have high chakra levels because it's a genetic advantage that Uzumakis have. So this child would have more than likely have these advantages, being the son or daughter of Karin and Sasuke. So this kind of combination would result in a very powerful shinobi. As far as the timeline itself with Sasuke and Karin, that's interesting, and their dynamic would clearly be different than Sasuke's and Sakura's. But again, it just seems more outlandish because Sasuke never looked at her that way. But then again, he didn't seem to care about Sakura either to the very end, so there's that as well. So yeah, that's an interesting question, but that's most likely the case. Let's continue on. By the way, folks, leave a like if you just came in or are watching the recording. Gets us up in the algorithm and is highly appreciated if you leave a like. The more likes, the better. Gets more eyeballs on the army, this army. So, but let's continue on. What's going on, Cubs? Appreciate you coming in. We're just answering some questions here. All right, so the next question, and this one's always asked, I think, within the Naruto fandom, is, what if Neji never died? So, I'm gonna be honest. To be frank, due to the increasing obscurity of Neji's character as time went on post-Chunin exams, him being alive really wouldn't do much. It really wouldn't change the trajectory of the storyline in any way, to be honest. The most beneficial thing with Neji still being alive would be, those heartfelt moments that appeal to the viewer, such as him maybe hanging out with Himawari or hanging out with Boruto, giving them some wisdom or something like that. That's the only difference we would see. Neji's not someone that's going to change the trajectory of the shinobi world or anything like that. So, at least from Kishimoto's intentions, that's the case. So, yeah. Alright, so that was an interesting question, but that's probably the most reasonable answer to that question, because Neji's not that important. So, even if Neji was still alive, he'd probably have a good relationship. Yeah, he probably would, yeah. That's probably the biggest benefit we'd get from Neji's being alive still, would be those moments that he would have with Naruto, and Hinata, Boruto, and Himawari. So that's about it. He's not beating any Otsutsuki or anything like that. So clearly he is not. So he'd be just another side character. All right, so this one was a very good question. This next question is, why are the 8 gates more than a 5 times multiplier when stacked on top of each other? So this is a good question. So the reason it's a good question is because there's obviously ambiguity revolving around the rate of increase concerning each gate as more are opened, right? So the 8 gates is somewhat of a mystery, empirically speaking. We can only rationally try to deduce what kind of multiplier we get in the end when all 8 gates are opened, right? So these are some of the things we do know. So Guy made a statement, which was that shinobis use around 20% of their physical power at any given time, and that the first gate removes that limit. So you go up to 100% of your physical power. So from that, you can extrapolate a quantitative value, right, which is times 5. 20 times 5 is 100. Hence, the first gate is a 5 times multiplier. That's a very logical way to deduce the multiplier for the first gate. All right, so continuing on, I'd also like to point this out. I don't think many people think about this, but I don't think all 8 gates are created equal. And here's a good example to why that is. So comparing Guy's 8 gates performance versus his father's 8 gate performance, there's clearly a difference, right? There's clearly a difference in what they accomplished. Guy, I mean, he was able to go toe-to-toe with Jubidara and nearly kill him. Well, maybe not toe-to-toe, but he was able to greatly harm Jubidara. While his father, Might Dai, only took out 4 out of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Not that that's not impressive, but in comparison to Guy, it's subpar, right? So from that, you can extrapolate a quite large difference in the increase of power that you get from the 8 gates. Some people would argue, well, base Guy is just stronger than base Dai is. Okay, that's fair, but the jump in physical power is quite different. Dai was a Genin level shinobi, right? And when he opened 8 gates, he was what, maybe an elite Jonin at best, to take out 4 of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the mist. Give me a second, folks. I think this is lagging. It's lagging pretty bad. Give me a second. If it continues to lag, I might just put the background picture. Give me a second here. What's going on, Super Skunk? Thanks for coming in. We're just answering some questions. Give me 1 second, though. This shit always lags at the perfect time. Very convenient. I'll continue on. Give me 1 second here. Think we're good? No, we're not. Okay, I think we're good now. Maybe if I take this back, I have a background on. Let me take it off. Maybe that will change something. All right, let me continue on. So, like I was saying, I don't think all 8 gates are created equal. I think there is a difference, and the multiplier varies from case to case. So I think Guy's multiplier was much higher than his father's. Again, you could use the argument, well, Might Dai is not relative to Might Guy and base. That Might Guy is an elite Jonin, while Might Dai was just an inferior Genin. That's fair, but the vast jump in power is apparent. You know, I don't think it's close enough to say, okay, that's the case. Now, is it possible? Yes, but I think it's more safe to deduce that Guy's multiplier is higher than his father's was. Right. So continuing on with that, I would deduce now, if we were to put a quantitative value on Guy's 8 gates multiplier, this is another thing we gotta take into consideration. Kakashi in the War Arc stated that the 8 gates made Guy tens of times stronger than Kage. Tens of times. Right? So anywhere from 10 to 90 times stronger. 10 to 99. Right? Tens of times stronger. That could mean 10. That could mean 20. That could mean 50 times stronger. That's a quite significant gap in power between a Kage and between Guy. And it holds, right? Being tens of times stronger is what it takes to even wound someone like Jubidara. It makes sense, rationally speaking. So, from that you can deduce the overall multiplier. Now, the best you could do is speculate, but the overall multiplier lowballing would probably be in the hundreds, right? With all 8 gates opened, he's probably hundreds of times stronger than he is in base. Now that's a low ball. If you want to go the exponential route, right? Let's take it as each gate is linear, right? So let's assume, for the sake of this argument, that each gate gives you a 5 times multiplier, which I don't think is the case actually, but let's assume for the sake of this discussion, you'd have to go 5 to the power of 8, right? And 5 to the power of 8. What's going on, Jonathan? Thanks for the $5. Appreciate it. Can't stay, but just wanted to say I enjoyed your commentary on the Raikage debates. Feel free to pause and comment more. Enjoy your responses. Appreciate it, Jonathan. Thanks for the $5. That's highly appreciated. Thanks very much, brother. And yeah, I gotta react to more debates, and I'll definitely do that. I appreciate that. But continuing on, if we were to take this in a linear fashion, right? Well, exponential fashion, I should say, not linear. In an exponential fashion, 5 to the 8 would be a quite large number. So if we were to calculate that, let me get the calculator here. It would be 5 to the 8 would be 390,000 times stronger. Now, is that the most rational conclusion? No, because Kakashi said he's tens of times stronger than the Kage. He didn't say thousands. He didn't say tens of thousands, right? So if he's not even saying hundreds of times, then we can't really go the exponential route with this multiplier rationally, right? To say that someone is 390,000 times stronger than he was in base, I mean, if you were to try to deduce that just doesn't add up to Kakashi's statement. So I would say, if I had to put my finger on it, probably high hundreds, low thousands of times stronger, possibly. That's lowballing. But it's probably high hundreds, low thousands, as far as the quantitative value for all 8 gates opened. So that's something to think about. A lot of people don't look at it that way, but when you look at it rationally, that seems to be the case. For you folks that came in, make sure you hit the like button. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask. Super chat questions are prioritized. Thanks for those who donate. Continue on though to the pre-live questions here. So let's continue on to the next one. Let's see. So someone asked, what if Madara beat Hashirama at the Valley of the End? So this is a question of, let me read this real quick. I think the gates are equal, however, we don't actually know how strong the swordsmen Dai fought were. Going from average getting to the swordsman, what I would have above Jonin is very impressive. Yeah, that's why I say elite Jonin, right? I wouldn't even go as far as to say that the swordsmen were Kage level. I don't think so. Look at Zabuza, for example, had trouble with Part 1 Kakashi, who is vastly inferior to Hiruzen, right? So I would say the jump in power from a rational standpoint seems much more vast for Guy than Dai, right? And again, that's headcanon, but it makes sense. You can kind of make an inductive analysis, not so much deduction, because there's not enough empirical evidence to classify as deduction. So you have Dai in base to Dai with the 8 gates. You have a Genin level individual, right? With the 8 gates, he's able to kill 4 out of the 7 legendary swordsmen of the mist and protect his son and some other guy that was there. I forgot who it was. So that's what he was capable of. That was the increase from Genin to elite Jonin, right? Now look at Guy, for example. In base, he's able to fuck up normal Jonin like it's nothing. In the 8 gates, he's able to tag and fuck up someone who is exponentially times stronger than any Kage, including Hashirama, Jubidara. So that gap is extremely vast, I would argue, in comparison to Dai's gap and increase. That would be my argument. Again, it's headcanon, and there is no way to truly definitively prove that. It's an unanswerable question as far as from a objective lens. But rationally, I think that's a good argument. But that would be mine at least. All right, so back to this question. What if Madara beat Hashirama at the Valley of the End? Another what if. So this is what most likely would happen. If Madara would have won, I think things still would have went pretty similar. There's going to be obviously some differences, but Black Zetsu would still come around and try to sell the project of infinite Tsukuyomi to Madara, right? Pretend that he's his will and essentially manipulating Madara into believing he's his his will incarnate or something of that fashion, and he would do that. So I think Madara would still go along with this plan. However, I think at the beginning he would try to have some sort of a dictatorship amongst the shinobi world. That was kind of his plan during that time, in that era, right? He was trying to scare other villages, saying that Konoha is superior, right? Having this god complex that he had. I would say he would definitely have a dictatorship. And now that there's no threat to him in the entire shinobi world, since him and Hashirama were the apex predators, he would have no resistance. He would probably dictate the whole world. You know, maybe create a new world order, something like that. And then use Project Infinite Tsukuyomi and just put everyone in a dreamlike state. No one would be able to stop him. And that would be that. That's probably what would happen. The story would end much quicker. You know, much quicker, so. Do you think visual Genjutsu should work on the Rinnegan? Oh, visual Genjutsu. That's a good question. There's always a lot of ambiguity revolving around that. Some people presuppose that because the Rinnegan has been stated as the superior dojutsu, that the Sharingan is unable to affect it as far as Genjutsu is concerned, right? So that's one way you could look at it. The other side of the spectrum is, well, we've never seen that, right? That's just a statement. I would deduce that it's possible. That is possible. I think there would be somewhat of a chakra struggle. It's a tough question to answer, but I would say yes. Yes. Most likely EMS is more than likely what you would need. But yes. What's going on? Gourmet Sand Eaters. 1010 would slap Damon. That's facts. What's going on? Batman. Make sure you hit the like button, folks. Alright, next question here. What if Danzo beats Sasuke? Well, if Danzo beats Sasuke, Obito would dispose of him. In fact, I would say he probably wouldn't even get a chance to defeat Sasuke. To kill Sasuke, I guess you could say. Obito would intervene. He was watching them. He was kind of letting Sasuke do what he does, right? He was kind of testing him against someone like Danzo. He sat there saying, okay, this guy, the guy that I want by my side, let's see. And he passed the test, right? He essentially killed Danzo multiple times because Danzo was spamming Izanagi. So that was a test for Sasuke from Obito. Now I would deduce that in the case that Danzo were to almost kill him, Obito would intervene, similar to how he intervened when Onuki was about to essentially vaporize him with his particle style. He intervened there, right? So he would do the same thing here. But if Danzo killed Sasuke, either way, Obito would just dispose of him. So nothing would really change. He would still die that day. That would be the end of Danzo. Depending on the Genjutsu sort of thing. Yeah, like going back to that, like the Tsukuyomi. Would that work on a Rinnegan user? It depends on your presupposition. Do you presuppose that the Rinnegan is superior dojutsu and it is immune to inferior dojutsu genjutsu? That's the question. It's kind of an unanswerable one. Now, some people will use, well, Sasuke didn't get caught in the infinite Tsukuyomi when he had his Rinnegan Sharingan. What I would argue, his Susanoo protected not just him. It protected Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, and Kakashi. Not just Sasuke. So, if anything, you could argue the Susanoo protected them from the infinite Tsukuyomi because the light of the moon couldn't reach their eyes, right? So that's an argument you can use against it. It's a two-sided coin. It really depends. Oh shit! Hey man, give it up for Batman, dude. I gotta screenshot that shit, man. Deadass. Appreciate that, Batman. That's heavily appreciated. $100. That's something, man. Appreciate that, for real. I'm gonna screenshot that shit right now. That's big, man. Appreciate you, brother. I'm definitely answering your question. Give me a second here. Shout out to Batman, man. That's love right there. Let me screenshot this shit, man. I'm gonna put it on the screen on like some Seth type shit. Give me a second. I'm doing it from my mobile device, and I'll transfer it to the PC. That's big, man. That's appreciate that, man. I'm lost for words almost, which is rare for me. All right, give me a second, folks. Let me put this on the screen. I'd give more, but I got bills. Hey, man, big 100. That's big, man. I appreciate that, brother. You're king for that one. By the way, Batman, I fuck with your reactions. I've seen like your reactions to my stuff, mostly to noodles, right? Appreciate that though. I fuck with it. Give me 1 second here. Let me add this on here real quick. Where is this image? I think it's right here. Give me a second. Alright. Oh, I can barely see that. Yeah, I had to put it on the screen, man. It's big. Appreciate that, brother. Right there. Appreciate that. Alright, let's answer your question now. What's your thoughts on Gates versus Raikage lightning armor? That's a good question. So, it definitely depends on the specific gate awakened. Now, clearly, we can deduce the 8 gates would fucking vaporize the Raikage. I mean, the Jubidar was nearly defeated, who is exponentially times stronger. Then, yeah, we could deduce that. Now, as far as the earlier gates, it's contentious because now, if we're talking about Guy specifically, my Guy was the 6th gate open. He was only able to somewhat contend with a 30% chakra clone of Kisame. Now ask yourself, would the Raikage with his lightning armor defeat a 30% chakra clone of Kisame? We can deduce most likely he would, right? Most likely he would. So I don't think even the 6 gates would give the Raikage much trouble. I think once you get to 7 is the most contentious. 8 would destroy him. 6 is not enough from what we can extrapolate from what we see as far as the 6 gates. So the 7th one is the most contentious. That's something you can discuss. So the 7th fucked up Kisame, right? To be fair, he didn't have Samehada. He was fatigued, but it fucked him up, right? And another advantage is, I guess you could, to be fair to Kisame, is that he couldn't absorb, 8 gates ninjutsu because he doesn't use 8 ninjutsu. He uses taijutsu. Now against the Raikage, it would come down to speed as well. Speed would be big. We do see the 7th gates take on the Bijou, right? That the White Mass Obito was controlling, and the speed was somewhat relative enough to contend with Bijou. So now compare that to the Raikage. I don't know if that's quite enough to even put him over to put their speeds at a relative level. I'm not sure about that. I would lean towards the Raikage. The Raikage was quick enough to at least surprise Madara Uchiha, who is beyond a lot of people. So from a rational standpoint, and from the empirical evidence that we can extrapolate, I would lean towards the Raikage if it's not 8 gates. And obviously 8 gates, my guy. Below 8 gates, probably the Raikage. So, yeah. Debunk noodles and justify. Yeah, bro. You know what? Since you paid me, I'll discuss that a little bit. For this big donation, I appreciate that. Yeah, noodles came in, tried to challenge me. I'm like, bro, I don't give a fuck about you. I don't give a fuck. You're irrelevant to me. You blackballed yourself from the community for being a fucking rat bitch. And I don't commonly talk shit about people, but when they deserve it, I mean, you got to. You're a fucking rat bitch. Why would I debate you? You don't even deserve that shot, So that's a little shit talking to add because of the donation. All right. If you went up to Kid Nagato when he first got the Rinnegan and used Tsukuyomi on him, he's not countering it. I see your point. That's a good point. So you're saying that you got to master the Rinnegan before you could really tap into its potential, right? I see that. That's a fair argument, right? Rationally, we would deduce that he can't. But then again, we're speculating, right? I do agree with you, though. I think that's a good inductive analysis because it seems that rationally makes sense. But someone else that's a skeptic would say you can't definitively prove that. All right, so let me give you some debating advice real quick for everyone in general. When you're debating and someone says you can't definitively prove that, I would argue that's fallacious. That's an appeal to ignorance, because when you're talking about fictional based realities, we can't see every second of every fight of every timeline. That's impossible, right? So people will say that's not definitively provable. Well, you can guarantee it via rational induction. Induction is a legitimate, logically valid and sound way of presenting an argument. Let's take, for example, mathematical induction, so we can kind of compare. So let's say, try to think of a mathematical concept that you could use induction for. Let's say you have a set of numbers, right? You have a set of numbers, and they follow a specific trend based off a mathematical function, right? So let's say we have x equals 2, right? And it goes up by 2's. For 1,000 times, we see a set of numbers. It is perceived as an infinite set. We see 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we can mathematically induce that the 100th element of such a set would be 200, right? Because 100 times 2 is 200. We can mathematically induce that, right? So that's the idea of induction. It guarantees it. Keyword is it guarantees. It doesn't definitively 100% prove something, but it guarantees it. So going back to anime, let's take, for example, I'll talk about what I debated 6 on. This is the argument I would have used with prep time. He argued Hashirama has no durability feats, right? He did beat Madara, but his claim was there's no way to prove his durability. This is what I would have said now. That's a fallacious way of that's fallacious logic, because you can induce that he has durability based off the Madara fight. And this is how I would argue it. There's a commonality amongst fights where 2 opponents are relative, right? Give me a second. It's fucking hot in here. I'm like, my throat's fucking drying up. But like I was saying, based on all the fights that we do know where 2 opponents are relative, they're going to swap hands. They're going to punch each other, right? Naruto versus Sasuke, Kakashi versus Kakazu, Kakashi versus Hidan. There's a commonality amongst those fights. The commonality is both fighters tank punches from the other opponent. So because we didn't see Hashirama and Madara have a taijutsu exchange does not mean that they didn't have one. Based on the commonality amongst all those kind of fights, we can rationally induce that Hashirama has durability based off that fight. He beat Madara. I mean, at the end of the fight, if you want to use empirical evidence, they were both fatigued. They both seemed to be roughed up. That's the argument I would have used against 6 if I was prepared. But yeah. Shout out to Cubs for the $20, brother. Appreciate it. Kisame versus Four Tails Naruto that fought Pain. Who wins? Let's think about this. Kisame versus Four Tails Naruto that fought Pain. Who wins? Four Tails. Well, he went up to 6, but I see what you mean. He went up to 6. 6 was enough to push Pain, a fatigued Pain, into a corner. 8 was enough to break out Chibaku Tensei. Let's look at Kisame. Here's the problem. Kisame took down a perfect Jinchuriki, who was arguably the strongest Jinchuriki at the time, right? Naruto hadn't learned KCM yet, or was barely learning it. I would argue probably Kisame, if we presuppose that he doesn't get any more tails. If he gets to the 9 tails, it's going to be a problem for Kisame. Just 4 tails alone, probably Kisame. Once he gets to 6 plus, it's contentious. That was enough to push back Tendo, so probably Kisame. Let's see here. You hear me burping, man? It's because I just ate. Sorry about that. Thanks for the $20 again, Kuos. Cubs. I appreciate that. Thanks for the $9, Sir Gates. I see your question. Sage Naruto that fought Pain versus Itachi during his fight with Sasuke. Keep in mind, Naruto did need a lot of help to defeat Pain. Here's what makes this contentious and ambiguous. Itachi was holding back against Sasuke. That we can almost definitively conclude, right? I mean, his whole plan was to make Sasuke feel like the hero by the end of that fight. So it's kind of hard to gauge where Itachi's at. Um, we could use narrative implications. Right, and say, well, Obito seems to think more higher of Itachi than Nagato. That's an argument for Itachi versus Nagato, by the way. Obito called Pain a subordinate, right? He kind of looks down on him. He knows he's powerful, but he looks down on him. He literally called him a subordinate. Now, if we see his dialogue concerning Itachi, he says things such as, oh man, if he would have known any more, he would have killed me. Or now that he's out of the way, nothing can stand in my way, right? So, based off those events concerning Obito's idea of these two, it seems he thinks higher of Itachi. Now, that's headcanon, but I think it's a fair rationalization based on the interactions that we've seen. So, I might argue that Sage Naruto could possibly lose to Itachi. I think he was superior to Sasuke and Naruto. So I would argue probably Itachi. Thanks for the $2, Luis. Salute, brother. What's going on? Thanks for coming in. All right. Let's see the questions here. Let me go back up here. 7th grade would be a needed. Agreed. Yep. Third Raikage is crazy too. Agreed. He is. But I would argue he's inferior to the 4th. Let's see. Noodle says Shikamaru's KCM speed. Rat ass shit, man. That's what he wants, dude. He wants attention for his ignorance. Yeah, fuck that dude. Dead ass. Are base guy and base Raikage equal? That's kind of tough to assess, because if we're just talking about the gates in general versus the lightning cloak, they would have similar base forms to capture the transformations. Then you gotta ask yourself, what's the multiplier of the lightning cloak? That's another question you gotta ask, which is even more ambiguous, I would argue. That's a good question. Rationally, I'd lean towards the Raikage, and considering he's Kage level. Yeah, let's see. I would lean towards Raikage if it's base to base. I was thinking about Sage Naruto versus Itachi this morning on where to work. Yeah, this is narratively. Now, I know Itachi versus Nagato. I know a lot of you guys out there got Nagato, but I would argue the narrative implies Itachi superior. Obito's thoughts on both implies it. The Edo fight implies it. Now, I know you can counter both and say that's headcanon 1, and the Edo fight 2 was Nagato being controlled and he was immobile. Actually, not necessarily. He absorbed Killer Bee's chakra and gained a boost. He wasn't immobile and sick at that point. He had his red hair back. His body was back to a good level. And he got blitzed by fucking Itachi. That's what happened. He was able to react to Killer Bee, but wasn't able to react to Itachi. Now, to be fair, you can counter and say, well, he wasn't aware that Itachi broke out of it, so he couldn't have reacted because he wasn't aware. Fair. But then he got blitzed again and got sealed. That's when he was aware. It's debatable. I'm not saying Itachi for sure wins, but it's not as one-sided as people think. I'll tell you that. Kisame would drain the chakra cloak and clap him. You debated 6? Yeah, I did. I think someone posted it, unfortunately, because it was pretty sad. I'm not going to lie. I'll take the L. I was just looking for scans the whole time. I was quiet, looking for fucking scans, trying to marshal my arguments in real time, not prepared. Again, 6 was a better man. But if I was prepared, it would have went differently. Much differently. I'll tell you that. What if Karin got with Sasuke? I already answered that, but I'll answer it again, Luis, because you gave a donation. If Karin got with Sasuke, they would have a half Uzumaki, half Uchiha offspring, and that would be interesting, because you'd have a guy with a Sharingan with high chakra levels. That's a dangerous opponent, right? A good example is Obito. Obito seems to have high chakra levels. He has no problem spamming Kamui over and over and over and over and over again. It would be similar here if Karin and Sasuke got together. Itachi wins with Genjutsu, to be honest. Yeah, and to be fair to the Nagato sword, that's contentious as well, because we don't know if a Sharingan Genjutsu could affect a Rinnegan Genjutsu, at least to my knowledge. We don't know. But I would argue his Tsukuyomi probably does. Right. Again, that's headcanon, but Uh, he immediately put Naruto in Genjutsu before he fought Sasuke. True. If Kurama wants, he can break Naruto out of the Genjutsu. Not necessarily. I believe. Well, if he has KCM, there's a good possibility. But if it's Tsukuyomi, I would argue that the timing is so quickly that Kurama will not be able to react in time. It's literally picoseconds, billionths, trillionths of a second. Kurama would barely even become aware, I would argue, before Naruto's deceased. Hence, Kurama's deceased. That shit is beyond the speed of light. It's the closest thing to instantaneous, right, that you can get. You can live 80 years in mere picosecond, according to Itachi's novel, if you consider novels canonical, which is contentious now. Now if he has Ma and Pa, straight on to Genjutsu. Agreed. Oh, Jiraiya? Yeah. I just left some questions on Discord. I don't know how long you've been. I barely got on. I'm definitely going to answer those, Luis. Appreciate that. Jay the Great. If Shikamaru had KCM 1 speed, why the fuck does 4th Raikage say he is the fastest ninja now due to Minato being dead? Right. And I think when he acknowledged KCM 1 Naruto's speed, I think he kind of gave the nod. Because, yes, he does say he was the fastest shinobi on Earth, except in comparison to Minato. But when KCM Naruto was able to react to his full speed, he kind of conceded being the fastest shinobi. You could argue he implied it. He didn't flat out say it explicitly, but I believe there's an implicit intention. So, do you think the series would have been any different had Naruto gotten the full 9 tails instead of just half? I think that's a subtle difference from a writer's perspective. Kishimoto probably would have been like, oh, he has all 9 of it. I'm not going to greatly enhance his power because he has both halves. I don't think that would have been his intention. If you're looking at it from a logical perspective, power scaling wise, sure, but I don't think Kishimoto looks at it that way. This is what I think about writers. Of course, they want to make the show coherent, make sense, right? They can't have like super inconsistent shit happening. Like this guy beats this guy. This guy's weaker than this guy, but he still beats. He beats him. Like they have to make it make sense. So I get why you asked that question, but I don't think it'd be that big of a difference. I think we wouldn't even notice because the writers want to make it entertaining at the end of the day. They wouldn't want to have Naruto fucking folding everyone with full 9 tails. But yeah, that's what I would say. Appreciate the $20 again, Sir Gitz. Appreciate that. Thanks for the second donation of the day. Your second donation of the day. Appreciate that. And all you guys have donated, greatly appreciated. What if EM and Sasuke swapped places with Naruto during the war and Sasuke fought Edo 3rd Raikage? Would Sasuke win? Alright, so let me read that question again. What if EM and Sasuke swapped places with Naruto during the war and Sasuke fought Edo 3rd Raikage? Would Sasuke win? That's a good question. I would argue that since he is relative to Itachi now, who you could argue is relative to KCM and Naruto, then it is a possibility. It is a possibility that he could. And I would say probably he probably would. He definitely has the hacks as well. And you could even deduce that Sasuke has better intellect and is quicker to adapt in battle. I would argue Naruto's more chaotic in his approach. He has deduction skill as well, of course. But he needed help to find that weakness of the 3rd Raikage scar. I don't think Sasuke would need that. He would deduce that quicker, maybe even without help. So maybe he could just use Amaterasu on the fucking scar and to take him out that way. I would say probably, yeah. Yeah, exactly. The Black Flames, correct. Yeah, that's what would happen. All right, there's a lot of questions up here. Appreciate all the questions, folks. Appreciate all the donations. Much love, man, to all y'all. All right, Beast Gohan versus Ultra Ego Vegeta, thoughts? The good old question. Let's discuss it. Let's discuss this. So some people are under the impression that the new movie of Gohan was not canonical. Toriyama talks about it. I think Seth in his video made a good case to why it's canonical. There are several statements of Toriyama talking about this, right? He talks about this very claim itself. He never talks about, oh, it's not canonical, it's just another spin-off. I don't think so, to my knowledge. I'm pretty sure Seth would have found it, being a connoisseur he is. So I would argue it is canonical, and I tend to agree with Seth's not prediction, but his assessment of Gohan Beast in the movie, that it was after, the current arcs of Dragon Ball Super. So probably Gohan Beast. However, I would also argue that the gap isn't as big as people say between Gohan Beast and Black Frieza. I do think Gohan Beast beats Ultra Ego right now, Ultra Ego Vegeta. But I think the gap between Gohan Beast and Black Frieza isn't as large as people say it is. Now, I guess this is all hypothetical. This is my theory. Not even Seth can make a solid claim because there isn't enough information. Black Frieza fucked up Goku and Vegeta like nothing. It was fucking nothing to him, right? And Gohan Beast fucked up Cell Max, right? Who lowballing is relative to the Broly in the Broly movie. Lowballing. So if you're lowballing it, you could argue Black Frieza has a good shot. If you're highballing it and saying he's stronger than current Broly, who's probably fucking training, then it probably would be a more one-sided affair. Again, it's all hypothetical, it's all theoretical, but to answer, Gohan Beast beats either Goku or Vegeta, possibly even if they work together. Possibly even if they fused. Possibly. Because Black Frieza fucked them up. One-shotted them. They were on the fucking ground. Fucked up from one shot. Not even Broly did that to them in the Broly movie. They were able to at least get their asses whipped for some time. Black Frieza one-shotted them and Granola. That's enough said, you know? So, enough said. Alright, that's a good question, though. What if Azuma beat Hidan? If Azuma beat Hidan, Asuma, let me say it right. Asuma beat Hidan, Kakuzu would probably intervene. Or, yeah, he probably would intervene. And Asuma would probably die anyway. So, yeah, I think he would die either way. No one in that exchange could have fucked with him. What was it, Shikamaru and a couple other Jonin that are fodder compared to the Akatsuki? Yeah, they're fucked. We all lose, Jay, doesn't mean you ain't great. Yeah, I'll take the L, man. You know, 6 was the better man. I ain't no rat. I'll take you on the chin. People could have their laugh. They can say what they want to say. But I would deduce that me as myself, looking at myself from an objective lens, I'm a pretty good debater. I'll say that. Not even bragging. I'm not saying I'm a god debater. I'm amazing. I'm a pretty good debater. And I would give prep time, me versus 6 is interesting. I'll say that. It would be an interesting competition. A interesting competition of verbal competence. Despite people's thoughts. I could say that. What if Minato was instead of Naruto in the Pain arc? What if Minato was there? I think his reaction times would be inferior because Naruto states that his Sage Mode has better reaction times than his KCM when fighting the third Raikage. So Minato's reaction times would probably be inferior to Pain Arc Naruto's reaction times. His combat speed would be greater. We have to differentiate combat speed versus reaction speed. I think Minato's combat speed is quicker. I would say he'd have a good shot at beating Pain, but Pain's hacks would be problematic. If Minato's speed is vast enough, right, then you have to deduce their speed, then he probably could blitz the Pains. However, if it's not vast, then he's going to get caught by hacks eventually. And that would be problematic. Okay. For sure, Ninetales can't break him out. Hacks Genjutsu, yeah. Let's continue on. Alright, folks, let me answer a pre-live question and continue on with yours as well. Of course, donations get priority. Thanks to all you guys. Thanks to Batman again for the 100. Thanks to all you guys again. For real, it all goes back to the channel anyway. So, I just invest what you guys give me back into basically you guys to the army, you know. So, all right, let me continue with the questions. Someone asked, what if Raditz turned good? All right, if Raditz turned good, he would be a Z fighter, right? Clearly, that's obvious, right? And now we have to ask, what would his potential be? I would say it's probably not as great as Goku and Vegeta's, but he is a Saiyan. And Saiyans have potential. I think that's any Saiyan, even a low-class Saiyan, like Goku, right? So at this point, let's say if Raditz was still alive, he probably would have Super Saiyan God and all that. Probably Blue, too, if his potential is relative enough. So, yeah. And he would be a Chad. He'd probably repopulate the Saiyan race. Him and fucking Nappa. Him and Nappa, you know, they're Chads. They have great Saiyan pride. Not to say that Goku and Vegeta don't, but I think they have more dog in them. as far as like with women. So of course that's headcanon, but I see what you guys asked here. Let's see. It's crazy how half of the Nine Tails is stronger than all the other tailed beasts. Yeah, there's a vast gap. A vast gap in power. There's a difference between regular MS Genjutsu and Itachi Tsukuyomi, which is basically Hack's Genjutsu, so definitely agree. Nine Tails ain't breaking him out, the damage would be done before he realizes it. Exactly. He wouldn't react in time. Would you want a course series on different ninjas in the village? Kind of the vibe of when Naruto got drunk as an adult. Sure, you know, as kind of like a fan service, why not? You know, people admire Naruto. It's a global phenomenon in the anime fandom, so definitely any spin-offs would be good. Let me scroll down and more questions have been asked. I think it goes Vegito, Gohan Beast, Black Frieza, Gogeta. Well, so you think Goku and Vegeta are the strongest? I mean, they got one-shotted by Black Frieza. So, but yeah. Noodles disagrees. He thinks Asuma scales to pain. Oh my God. So Hidan is stronger than Asuma by that logic. Exactly. What the fuck? I'm going to be reacting to your Batman versus Iron Man debate. You took Batman. Dude, that debate was wild. You're in for a treat on that one. I had to verbally dismantle that dumbass that I debated. And I had no problem saying that because we had some issues, personal, outside of YouTube. Fuck that motherfucker. Like, fuck that bitch. He deserved that ass whooping. And I'll do it again. Be honest. Tony Tucker's smart, but that's mostly just tech. Batman is smart in multiple areas. Yeah, that was my argument. And he outsmarted a 12th level intellect in the DC universe, which I think is the top of the food chain as far as intellectual prowess. Brainiac, for you guys that don't know. And Iron Man, I believe, maybe in some continuity somewhere, maybe he did something similar. I don't know, but I couldn't find anything. And my opponent just shat his pants as soon as I gave that feat. So, what if we got it Forever 2? Who would be in the song? That's a good question. Forever 2. Drake, clearly. I think the newer generation this time, right? Because the guys that were on that song led that era of time, that decade. Maybe Drake, maybe someone like Lil Baby, Da Baby, maybe Jack Harlow, or who's an upper tier rapper these days. Trying to think. Yeah, those three are good names right there. Noodles told me Kakuzu folds Jiraiya. Oh my God. I just realized I did my order wrong. It's the opposite. Oh, okay, I got you. Makes sense. Motherfucker smarter than Brainiac. Exactly. And he's taken down individuals that are universal and in some continuities multiversal. Darkseid. I mean, this motherfucker's something else, man. And that's mainstream Batman. To get even remotely close, you have to go into like alternate continuities for Iron Man. And the mainstream audience, they know that he can defeat the Justice League with contingency plans. To the mainstream audience of Marvel, they look at Iron Man as, you know, a formidable guy, but they don't look at him in that esteem. So, you know, again, that's all appeal to emotion, but the point still stands to some extent. Thoughts on the new AirPods 2 Pro? If it's the one with like the plastic design, I don't like it. I feel like it falls off. They need to make a better design where it stays in the ears. You know, that's my thoughts. But I do like the new perks as far as the technological advances. What do you think about Zalama and DBZ? I'm not gonna lie, I might have forgot who that is. Let me look it up real quick. It's been a while. Oh, okay, I remember. As far as aesthetic, pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie, I mean, that kind of character is not someone you really power scale. I thought he was a cool character, you know, mystical. Zabuza versus Kabuto. Good one. And this is why it's extremely contentious. Zabuza lost to Part 1 Kakashi, right, as we all know. Kabuto is visibly intimidated by Kakashi. Yes, he was stated by Orochimaru to be on his level, but when they had an interaction, Kabuto backed down. Kakashi said, "Don't mess with grown-ups," which implies superiority. That's a narrative implication being made by Kishimoto. He's saying Kakashi is superior, even if they are in the same weight class. So now why it's contentious is because we can deduce both would lose to Kakashi. Now who's stronger between those two? That's the question. You could say that they're relative based off the implication with Kabuto made by Orochimaru, and based off the fight between Zabuza and Kakashi, you can deduce relativity for the sake of this discussion, and then it would come down to their arsenals. Kabuto is a very, very professional medical ninja, right? So he has the chakra blades. He could do things to your organs or some shit. He can do some crazy shit, including, I think he did something to Naruto. He like tied his fucking organs to his own or some shit. Did some weird shit. But Zabuza has good abilities as far as for battle, right? You can use the Demon Mist. I don't know how Kabuto would respond to that. I think it'd probably be Zabuza. I would lean towards Zabuza because of his abilities. The water style, it would be problematic for Kabuto. So. Nerfed Naruto versus Shippuden 5 Kage. Okay, so Naruto now, right? Versus the 5 Kage and Shippuden. That's a good question. Now it's hard to really quantify Naruto's power. This is what we can extrapolate. He's older. We can rationally deduce, okay, he's stronger than he was as a kid. His Sage Mode's probably better. He probably hold it longer. He doesn't have the Nine Tails aid no longer. He doesn't have probably 6 past powers either. I think Seth made a good point when he said that Kurama was the link to the Kurama and the Tailed Beast were the link to the 6 past powers. I do agree with that notion. So I don't think he even has 6 past powers either. So I would say his Sage Mode is probably problematic. He still does have pretty high Taka levels, 4 times higher than Kakashi without the Nine Tails, as stated by Kakashi when he was learning the Rasen Shuriken. So he would be problematic. He is his father's son. I think he would have to be in Sage Mode, clearly. And we can deduce that based off how he approached the interaction he had with Damon and Code when he showed up to help. He was in Sage Mode, right? One of the chapters is Boruto manga. So that's probably him at his best. You can deduce that. Or he wouldn't have used it in the first place. Now, Pain Arc, Sage Mode Naruto was able to contend with someone of Pain's caliber. You can argue, yes, he was fatigued. Then we go to the War Arc. A fatigued Sage Mode Naruto, right, because he was using clones and was spamming KCM and all that, was able to contend with the third Raikage and outspeed the third Raikage because of the reaction times. Now you gotta ask yourself, how much stronger would he be from that point? What could he do now? It's hard to put your finger on it as far as in a quantitative fashion. There's really no way to do that. You have to kind of just speculate. I would speculate he could probably beat any one of them one-on-one with Sage Mode especially. All 5 could be problematic. I would lean, it's a hard one to deduce, but I would lean based off what we do know. So we have Tsunade, the Raikage, Onuki. I might still lean towards Naruto because of all that time he's had to really improve, but it can go either way. I lean towards Naruto if I'm just making a decision. It's a hard one to really gauge, though. It really is. Okay. Adult Sasuke and Naruto versus Goku before the Saiyan arc. Before the Saiyan arc, he loses. Especially Baramo Naruto, who can arguably be put at galaxy level. He fucked up Ishiki Otsutsuki, who's superior to, a Kage who's capable of swallowing dimensions that are possibly solar system level. So probably adult Naruto and Sasuke. If it's Saiyan arc Goku. Before that, he wasn't reaching those levels quite yet. So Batman beats Goku with prep time. I don't give a fuck. Probably. One of my shawties asked, how do you help someone who deals with negative overthinking? So this IRL question. How do you deal with someone that has negative overthinking? The best way is to not reinforce the mindset. You gotta kind of fuel their ambition, especially men. We live off our ambition. That's the fuel, right? So if they're thinking negatively and their ambition is, the fire of their ambition is dim, you gotta light that fire. And that depends on the guy. Some guys respond to brutal honesty. Some guys respond to, cheerful encouragement. It really depends on your friend that you're talking about. But encouragement is the main point. Do not reinforce. Do not kind of solidify the victim mentality. That's all I gotta say about that. Power scaling Boruto characters to Naruto characters is weird because in Boruto there isn't any crazy feats, but according to statements they would stomp all the Naruto characters. Agreed. It's ambiguous. It's ambiguous. It's especially ambiguous when people ask who's stronger, adult Naruto, right, or end of Shippuden Naruto. But I tend to lean towards adult Naruto from a rational standpoint. I mean, he's older, wiser, fucking up villains that are stronger than Kaguya. But yeah, it is ambiguous. Do you think if Goku went Super Saiyan 4 against Beerus instead of Super Saiyan God, he would have done better or worse? I think God Ki now this is headcanon, but I think rationally it holds. I think God Ki is just made of something different. It's built different. God Ki is the next stage of evolution. I mean, look at Super Saiyan 3, how fucking shitty he did against Beerus. Beerus fucking made him his bitch. It was the gap was tremendous in the difference of power. God Ki put him on a different level. I think God Ki is built different, and there's a reason it's called God Ki, not just Ki. So I don't think he would have beaten Beerus or contended the way he did with Super Saiyan God. Now again, that's headcanon, but I think it's a rational headcanon thought process. He wouldn't be able to sense Beerus, but if someone like Frieza can fight with his eyes, Goku definitely can. Do you think Iron Man can beat Goku with prep time and making some suit for him? There are suits that can be debatably scaled to damn near infinite. I believe there is a suit called it's either the God Killer armor, or there's another name for it, the God Buster armor, or something like that. It's one that he made in this universe that he created himself, that with the only limit being his imagination, right? The capabilities of this such suit only being limited to his very imagination as a human being. So maybe a suit of that caliber would be able to. All the mainstream would get fucked up by Goku. It'd have to be like the one that can take down Celestials, which are multiversal beings that helped pave the way for the Marvel multiverse, or the one that he created in his own infinite dimension that's only limited to his imagination. One of those would have to be the case. These normal ones are not doing shit to Goku. Goku is at this point, beyond universal threat. So, yeah. What if Naruto was part of the Anbu? It wouldn't really make sense narratively because Naruto doesn't have that personality. He's not cold-hearted. He doesn't have that cold heart that someone like Kakashi and Itachi did. You gotta be cold for that. A good example is Might Guy. Might Guy asked Hiruzen, "Hey man, I want to be part of the Anbu. I'm a good elite Jonin." And you know what Hiruzen said? "You're not built for it. You're not cold enough for this game. This is a cold game." And people like Naruto and Guy aren't built for it. Their psyche just wouldn't be able to live with the things they have to do, so it wouldn't go well. I think Naruto would probably quit the Anbu or something. Or he would talk no jutsu the Anbu and change the Anbu to nice, friendly people. That's one of those things would happen. Madara versus the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th Hokage at the same time, like the 5 Kage. Okay, so Tobirama, Hiruzen, Minato, Tsunade, and Kakashi. It depends on what version of Kakashi, of course. If it's DMS, he's wiping the fucking floor with EMS Madara. We know that, and that's a fact. And if we have KCM Minato from Edo, him and DMS Kakashi would absolutely annihilate by themselves Madara. But if we're talking about like the regular versions, it probably would be Madara still. With a perfect Susanoo, 25 wood clones spamming, perfect Susanoos, they're fucked. All of them are fucked. They don't stand a chance. Not even Minato or Hiruzen or Tobirama, none of them. They're all fucked. So, do you think Zalama is stronger than Omni King Xeno because he made those Dragon Balls and they redid the Omni King power, and when they seen the dragon, the Omni King stood up? You gotta go based off the narrative, right? The top dog, at least that's being relayed from the characters in the DC and the Dragon Ball universe, is the Omni King. But I see your point. I would say probably not. From a narrative standpoint, it doesn't seem to be implied, at least to me. There isn't enough to imply that, so I would probably say no. Probably not. What if Naruto had all the elements? For Celestials, right? I know you're talking. Yeah. The Celestial. I think it's either the God Killer armor or there's another name for one of those armors. What if Naruto had all the elements? He'd probably master some other interesting techniques. Fire. Imagine him fucking Naruto using fire style, fireball jutsu, or something like that, or having water style. He would just have a wider arsenal, and then that would also be further expanded on by Kurama's chakra levels. That would be interesting. He'd basically be more versatile if he had all five elements. Naruto had all the natures when he had all the Telbees. Correct, he did. He did have them. So, which increased his versatility. You know, we've seen lava rust and shurikens, boiling release. We've seen quite a few different ones. So, there you go. Do you think John Constantine beats Batman? I've been learning more about John Constantine. It depends on the continuity. In some continuities, he's fighting, you know, these godlike creatures. That would probably give Batman a hard time. If it's a more nerfed John Constantine, probably not. If Batman has prep time, as we all say, John Constantine would have a tough time. He would have to catch Batman off guard, which is damn near impossible, you know. How about Cosmic Iron Man suit? That crap was fire. Oh, that shit was fire. Yeah, it was fire. That probably would give Goku a run for his money. So, I think the Omni King Xeno is like the king god of destruction because we've never seen him create, and I think Zalma created everything. That's a rational theory. What if Itachi was found out as a spy? That would be problematic. If he was caught, depends on which side. If the Uchiha, which it kind of worked. No, actually, no. He was playing them. But if they were to find out that he was working for the Leaf, they'd probably want to execute him. You know, even Fugaku would be like, actually, no, not Fugaku. I take that back. Because when he came to kill them, Fugaku didn't even challenge him, right? When he massacred his parents. So not Fugaku. Maybe the police force. And Fugaku would have to put that fire out and say, listen, this is my son. He made his choice. We don't kill Uchiha. But something like that would happen. If the Leaf found out, let's say in alternate reality, he sides with the Uchiha, Danzo would start a civil war between the Uchiha and the Leaf bureaucracy. It wouldn't end well. That would be a fucking shit show. People would die. Sasuke might die. It wouldn't end well. If Itachi was forced to fight Guy after beating Kakashi, who wins? Kisame 0-2. Do you think Guy winning if he could do the 7th gate? I don't think he would beat both of them in 7th gate. I think he'd have trouble. And he probably would have to go to the 8th. If it's Itachi trying to kill them, right? Let's pretend that he's not undercover, he's gonna have to go to the 8th gate. Both Kisame and Itachi working together, that'd be a problem. He probably would have to open the 8th gate. There's not enough that I've seen from the 7th gate to deduce he could beat both those guys. I don't think so. Yeah. Do you think Shishui is alive? No, he's gone. I mean, he jumped off a cliff in the anime at least. He's gone. What do you think is Amato's plan? It's a good question. Here's the thing about Amato that makes him polarizing. And I would argue he's one of the most polarizing characters currently in Boruto. He's very clever, and he's very deceptive. Like, even Shikamaru, who has a high IQ, I would argue, has a tough time reading that guy. And he's arguably the greatest mind in the verse. He has a tough time deducing Amato's intentions because he's very deceptive, right? His plan, it's hard to tell. I don't really know if he wants power. I mean, let's say this. He created cyborgs that have autonomous will. I mean, they're turning on him. Fucking Ida, Code almost killed him. Like, he didn't create cyborgs that only listen to him and him only. Koji was the closest thing to that. Koji was very loyal to Amato. But the others, they don't give a fuck. You know, they don't listen to him. Delta, you know, fucking Ida, Code. It's a problem. So I don't know if his plan is power necessarily. It's hard to kind of gauge. I would predict his plan seems to be something along the lines of maybe I go back to this idea of new ideologies being implemented into the Naruto verse. I think he's one of those guys that's basically saying, hey, this old Shinobi way doesn't work anymore. I'm going to build new tools to get rid of that old and outdated ideology. I think there's some parallels between Kawaki's and Amato's ideology. right? They don't think that the old Shinobi way works anymore. I think Amato's one of those guys. But to really put my finger on what exactly he's planning is hard. I'll say that. It's hard to kind of deduce that. Best animes aside of Dragon Ball and Naruto. And my boyfriend recommended your channel. Oh, thanks. Shout out to him. Thanks, Miriam. Best animes aside of Dragon Ball and Naruto. Try Death Note. Goated. If you like a good storyline, it's not power scaling. It's not explosive and aesthetically pleasing like the two you mentioned, but it is a very, very polarizing story as far as a story, right? In an intrinsic sense, Death Note tells the story of the greatest cat and mouse game, arguably, that you'll ever see. I'm not gonna spoil any more for you, but watch Death Note. Attack on Titan, spectacular, narratively phenomenal. It's a phenomenal one. Bleach is pretty good. That's kind of similar. If you're looking for a similar type of style to Dragon Ball and Naruto, Bleach is recommended. If you want a long story, try One Piece. I haven't seen it myself, but it's one on my bucket list. What's the other one I'm thinking about? Jujutsu Kaisen. I gotta watch that one myself. Very similar to those other two. So, Fugaku versus Minato. Fugaku versus Minato. Who won the job? Let's answer that. Who won the job with the fourth Hokage? That should answer the question, right? Again, that's headcanon, but Hiruzen had to make a choice. Who's the best suited candidate? Now, you could say it's a multivariate equation. It's not simply just who's more powerful. Fair, right? It's leadership, loyalty, consistency, and other variables that play a factor. So you can take that route and use that argument. There's also the argument of his speed. He was the fastest shinobi on fucking Earth. So you could just rationally deduce Fugaku's not fast enough to fuck with Minato. Right? You can argue that. So yeah, Minato. It's sad that Kakashi isn't used more in Boruto. I agree. It's one of it's the passing of the torch, man. It's gonna happen to all these characters. That's why we don't like Boruto. I made a video of this previously, back a few weeks ago. We don't like change. Humans don't like change, but change is inevitable in an imperfect reality. Change will always be there. In your real life, in anime, stories continue to go on. Change is an inevitable outcome. So it is sad. Kakashi's barely even mentioned. Sakura, I don't give a fuck about Sakura, but like it says here, she's ass, but she's never really talked about either. Naruto and Sasuke are starting to become increasingly more irrelevant, power scaling wise, and eventually narratively. It's gonna happen, and I hate to say it, I really do, but it's gonna happen. The passing of the torch is taking place. So Koji is alive. I wonder if he meets Naruto. That would be That would be an interesting interaction. Shout out to Cubs, man. $50. Hey, I gotta put that on the screen, man. I should put all of them on the screen, but I definitely gotta put that one on. Appreciate all the donations, brothers. Let me put this one on the screen. I gotta do that. Give me a second. I gotta show some appreciation, man, for these. You guys are goated, for real. Give me 1 second. You just screenshot that. I'm feeling like Seth a little bit. Nah, Seth makes, Seth get that bag. But, yeah, I'm feeling like Seth a little bit here. Shout out to Seth. Alright, give me a second. I gotta put that on the screen, because that's goated. Alright, I just transferred it. Give me a second, folks. Alright, put it on the screen now. Put this up here. Where is it? Where's the picture at? Give me a second, folks. Oh shit, that shit's huge. Make that smaller, folks. Whoops, where'd it go? Why'd it flip? What the hell? Give me a second, folks. Let me fix this. There we go. Goated. Alright, let's read your question. Have you watched Hunter x Hunter, and do you intend on discussing about that? I have not, but I most definitely will discuss it. I know it's one of the most admired anime in recent memory. All I hear is good. Every person that has seen it has only told me good things about it. I haven't really heard any bad. The only thing is the power scaling is not nearly the level of like Dragon Ball, and that's not a knock. That's just the way it's set up. Hey, shout out to Batman, another 50, man. Don't flex, I'm still winning. Sheesh. Hey, appreciate you, brother. You all winning in my book. I'm gonna screenshot that too. You guys are goated. For real. You're all kings out here. Sheesh. Shout out to Batman. Shout out to Cub. Shout out to Sir Gates. All you guys. Luis. Appreciate you, brothers, man. Let me do this too. I owe you guys that. You know. I owe you guys that. Give me a second. It's hot as fuck in here, man. It's getting hot in here now. All this heat coming in, you know. Alright, give me a second here. Next one up. Yes, sir. All goes back to the channel. Appreciate that. Where are you? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I don't know why they're so fucking big. Give me a second. You know, like when they're fucking huge. Huge W's, that's why. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Appreciate you, brothers. Continue on. Wow, all this money, you seem to appreciate everything, which is great. Yeah, man, it all goes back to the channel anyway, you know. Without you guys, this wouldn't be possible. You know, I was just a guy. Around 2 years ago, I used to stream to nobody. Deadass. 0 people. You know, I had to build my verbal competence. I had to build my knowledge. And I had to build, you know, a solid army. And, you know, I owe a lot to you guys, man. So, for real. So, shout out to you folks. This wouldn't be possible without you guys. Deadass. So, I got to continue with my ambitious journey to continue bringing you guys fire content. You know, because I owe you guys that much. For sure. Facts. Yeah. Could Goku and Naruto be friends? It's a good question. Now, we got to break down their personalities, right? Naruto is friendly, competitive, ambitious, never give up attitude. And I would actually argue there's a lot of parallels between those two guys. You know, if anything, they'd be great buddies. I think they would push each other. Well, we're presupposing that they're equal. And obviously, if we're being hyper literal with their power scaling, Goku would be God to Naruto. Naruto would look at him and be like, you just destroyed a whole universe with a punch. Like, that's how Naruto would look at him and be like, are you Hagoromo's dad? Like, are you the Otsutsuki god? That's how he would look at Goku. But if we're presupposing they're like equivalent power, they'd be best friends, for sure. They're pretty alike, and they would definitely be very good friends. So, where would you scale Sakuma Hatake? I know we have very little, but there's narrative scaling statements, at least to where I think it stayed for him being... Yeah, I believe... Who talked about Sakuma? Was it Minato? Someone said... Yeah, you're right. You're right. Take the words out of my mouth. Minato did say it. So, they hailed in comparison to him, right? The 3 Sannin held in comparison. That's a very significant statement, right? We can extrapolate from that, break it down and say, if they hail in comparison, there is no level of relativity here. There is a blatant superiority when concerning Sakuma and the 3 Sannin. So he's blatantly superior to the 3 Sannin. From that, you can even say he was superior to Hiruzen, at least old man Hiruzen. You know, you could argue Orochimaru was relative to Hiruzen. I would argue he was inferior to Hiruzen, but relative enough. Sakuma hails in comparison. Well, they hail in comparison to him. So he was definitely someone of note. I would argue he's probably maybe prime Hanzo level, maybe beyond that. You know, Hanzo fucked up 3 Sannin. I mean, they weren't as strong as they are, you know, now or later on, but he showed him mercy. So I think Sakuma would be of that caliber. He'd be a very high caliber shinobi. So, the red pill will always have a representative. The true shinobi will be silenced too long as we bear the flame of the human spirit. Never forget that, Jay. Yeah, speaking of, alright, for you guys in my Discord, if you haven't joined my Discord, it's in the description. I try to talk to y'all. We have debates. I debate there live. I was gonna debate a female. You guys probably know who it is. I debated her previously on the red pill community. I was gonna debate her on that, and the question was, is the red pill community toxic? Right. And I'm just gonna give some of my thoughts. I'm not gonna like completely give my overall argument. She doesn't watch anyway. I think she might be watching, but I'm confident enough that I'll still win. So The red pill community is definitely strawmanned as far as its arguments all the time. The real premise of the red pill community is self-improvement, right? Self-improvement is the goal. That's the message that's trying to be relayed. But what happens? Mainstream media and people that are emotionally biased only take out these small snippets from these advocates of the red pill community and misconstrue their true message, right? You have like this female talk or whatever. That's not the message that they are relaying. Watch a 2-hour podcast of one of these guys. Tell me that they're pieces of shit and they're toxic. I don't think you will. They want men to improve financially, physically, mentally. What's wrong with that? I don't see a problem with that. It's like success is demonized, ambition is demonized. Having your standards and having like self-respect as a man is demonized. Why? What's the fucking problem with that? Are we not supposed to have our own dignity? Women are encouraged to have dignity, and they should be. Women should have self-respect too. But men are demonized and villainized for that. We're looked at as toxic and misogynistic or some shit. Like, bro, that's bullshit. Like, watch these guys for real. Give it a chance. Put your emotions to the side. Is the community perfect? Absolutely not. Are there some fucking retard? I don't want to say the R word. Are there fucking dumbasses in that community? Absolutely. But the overall message is, it's a morally righteous one. That's the point I'm trying to make. Message retracted. Was it something bad? What did they say? I don't mind discussing. Go ahead and resend it, Miriam, if you want. I'm not gonna attack you or anything. I'll attack the argument if you want to. I'm about that action. So if you want to discuss. Oh, it's nothing bad. Okay, never mind. Because when it says message retracted, I assume, She said, why do men not talk after sex? Was that your question, Miriam? I'll assume so. Why do not men talk? Okay. This is an interesting question. The reason that this happens, I'm going to give the honest truth. On the bounce of probabilities, the reason why men won't talk to you after sex is because, I don't want to sound like a fucking asshole, but I have to say it. To them, from their subjective lens, you don't bring any value outside of that. I'm not saying that females that go through that are fucking that are worthless. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, as far as from a dating marketplace perspective, right? Dating marketplace perspective. I'm not saying as a person. I'm not saying you're worthless and in the grand scheme of things. I mean in a dating marketplace, that man had sex with you, and after that, he doesn't seem to have any desire to continue on because he doesn't see any more value from a dating marketplace. Keyword. I'm not trying to say women are worthless and all this bullshit. In fact, if he keeps talking to you, you won. If you have sex with him and he still talks to you, you won. Don't let that opportunity go away. So now you might ask, what are these values that men want? It's pretty simple. They want a nice girl. Not to sound fucked up, they want a fit girl. They want, a nurturing girl. Nurturing is important to men, especially men that are go-getters. They want a nurturing woman, a submissive woman. Okay, submissive, by the way, every girl that I talk to this about, they say, oh, you want to control me? No, that's not what I mean by submissive. It just means they lead the charge, so to speak. And there's always a leader in any relationship, not just intimate. There's always a leader. Look at parents and children. Who's the leader? The parents. Boss and subordinate. Who's the leader? The boss. Boyfriend and girlfriend. Who's the leader? Sometimes it's the girlfriend. Sometimes it's the boyfriend. There's a leader. And I would argue biologically men are meant to be the leader. It doesn't mean that they're better than you. It doesn't mean that they're fucking superior to you. It means that's their role. We have a role in relationships. No one's better than the other. You have your strengths. Women are way smarter socially. We're fucking stupid, man. Men are fucking stupid as far as social. They're not socially calibrated. Why? Because they have to earn the things to be desirable in the social market, in the dating marketplace, right? Women have their beauty. Do you have to work for that? No. Once you're 18 plus, you're valuable. If you're an attractive girl, you're already valuable. As a man, do you think girls are looking at a regular 18-year-old guy? They don't fucking care about him. He hasn't earned anything yet. He's broke. He's probably not in shape, statistically speaking. He's not, statistically speaking, he probably has no confidence. Probably a virgin. 30% of people aged, males 18 to 30 are virgins. They have to earn their value. Again, that doesn't mean that they're worthless. It means in the dating marketplace, they have to earn their value. So, there you have it. And shout out to Miriam for asking me, because a lot of girls will automatically go to ad hominem attacks. They will go to ad hominem attacks and attack me because I'm giving them the paradigm of reality. That's the real paradigm that we live in. So take it how you want it. I hope girls take it and use it to their advantage, and they win. So, he ain't talking because he got hit with that post-nut clarity. In layman's terms, post-nut clarity. What is the clarity specifically? She's not that valuable as far as dating her. She's not very nurturing. She's not very nice. She's boring. Whatever. So, yeah, shout out to Miriam. Most girls, and I've had many discussions about this, I can't talk to them. Why? You're a misogynist. You're a fucking piece of shit. How? How am I a piece of shit? I'm giving you the reality. I'm just the messenger. The sky is blue. 1 + 1 = 2. Men love sex. Women love attention, resources, security. That's reality. I'm just the messenger. I didn't create this paradigm that we live in. This social paradigm, this biological paradigm, right? We're biological paradigms, right? Women are designed to look for the best suitor, right? They want the best candidate. Financially set, the most confident, the most fit, the tallest, the strongest. That's what women want. They're not bad people for that. They're not gold diggers. They're not fucking bad. It's not a bad thing. Men want the hottest, fittest, most nurturing woman. They're not pigs for that. That's our paradigm. That's our design. It's reality. It's reality. All right, but yeah, that was my little rant. I've had several encounters about this with women. It does not go well. So shout out to Miriam for that. All right, folks. Anime talk. I apologize to the guys that don't give a fuck about that. But you should. Any man should give a fuck about being better. Being a better man. Every man should care about that. Every man, no matter who you are. You think you're fat? Get in shape. You think you're broke? Get money. Work. That's the ideology you need. And that's the red pill ideology. All right, let me continue on. Sorry about that. Someone asked Sage Mode Jiraiya versus Danzo. All right. Now, this is a tough one to assess. It's contentious. So this is how I think about it. Sage Mode Jiraiya is relative to Orochimaru, who's implied to be stronger than Sasuke at his best. So Getsu states, after the Sage Mode Kabuto fight, that Sasuke only now caught up to his mentor. Only now in EMS. So from that you can deduce even 5 Kage Summit Sasuke would have had a hard time against Orochimaru. Hence, Jiraiya is above 5 Kage Summit Sasuke, who's above Danzo, who got fucking fodderized. Hence, Jiraiya would most likely win. That's a transitive power scaling implication, right? A is greater than B, B is greater than C, hence A is greater than C. So there you go. Miriam, it could be good because that good was golden, and that guy was like, sex was great. I think I'm in love. Let me make this differentiation real quick though. There's a difference between sexual attraction, relationship attraction. A guy might keep talking to you after sex, but he just wants sex. When you got bomb box, he dug those guts out, and those guts are bomb. It's because you got the wet, right? You got the wet. That's all you got though. He's not gonna say, do you want to go to dinner, a nice dinner, and discuss? That's not gonna happen. He's gonna say, do you want to go to a drive-in? Do you want to go to the beach? A cheap location. Not to say that men have to spend money on women, that you shouldn't, by the way. But you'll know if it's relationship versus just sexual. Unless the guy's very clever, then you probably won't know. But if if it's an average guy, you'll be able to tell. So, all right. Just want to make that differentiation. That's a big difference that women don't know. Girls are like, there's so many guys in my DMs. They just want to fuck you. You got pictures of your ass on Instagram. You really think they want to fucking cuff you? They don't fucking care about you. They want box. They want to dig those guts out. That's not a fucking flex. That's like me saying, I have a ton of friends that are girls. I'm not fucking any of them. That's not a fucking flex. So girls fucking a bunch of dudes is not a flex, because that's easy. Why? Because they have their value already. The beauty brings dick in. It doesn't bring relationships in. It brings dick in. What brings relationships in? Good characteristics intrinsically. You're nurturing. You're nice. You're submissive. You're fit woman. That's valuable for a relationship. For sex, you just gotta be hot. That's it. For men, having a bunch of friends that are girls is not a flex, because that's easy. Having a bunch of girls that like you, that's a flex, because that means you bring something to the world. This is a good quote that I heard before I answer more anime questions. Your value as a man does not depend on how many girls you could fucking sleep with, right? Your value as a man actually comes from what you can bring to the world for people to see, whether it's, you're a good architect, you're a good doctor, you're a good lawyer. That's your value. A byproduct of that is the women. Remember that. So if a guy's broke and he's good looking or something and he has bitches, he's not valuable, man. He's not there yet. You have to master your craft. A byproduct of that will be the women. Remember that. So yes, it's a flex to have a lot of girls, but that's usually because you have value from something else, with that being the byproduct. Remember that. So okay, back to the anime. I got off track here. If Danzo sneaks Jiraiya after using his Nagi, he wins, but if not, Jiraiya wins. It'd probably be the reaction speeds that would not allow Danzo to do that. He probably wouldn't be fast enough, So it's possible, but it's not likely. What if Kakashi had the Rinnegan? Oh boy. If he had the Rinnegan, let's dissect this. If he had the Rinnegan, the question is, could his body even hold it? Obito was only able to hold one Rinnegan because his very body couldn't handle two. He didn't have enough chakra, enough energy to do so. Kakashi has stamina problems already with one fucking Sharingan. Imagine two Rinnegan. That might be too much. That might kill him. The very strain on his very soul, his very chakra network, might make it shut off because he can't handle the sheer power of the dojutsu. So he might die from it. But let's assume that doesn't happen. I mean, he'd be fucking powerful. He'd be absorbing ninjutsu, using Chibaku Tensei, throwing fucking meteors at the earth when he's fighting opponents. He'd be a fucking force of nature. Okay. I'm dead from this talk. I feel like I'm in sex ed. Not sex ed, but getting box ed. That's a good way to put it. Wara Kakashi could definitely handle a Rinnegan. That's a good point. Yeah, he was spamming fucking Kamui, spamming from fucking Raikage, spamming Lightning Blade. You got a good point. Part 1 Kakashi would probably die from sheer exhaustion. But yeah, Wara Kakashi. I agree. Do you know who Rimuru Tempest is? I don't believe so. I don't think I'm familiar. By the way, folks, make sure you hit the like button. I know we get controversial on here, but fuck it. I fuck with y'all. I owe you guys that after these goated donations, man. It's appreciated. And yeah, just hit the like button. It gets us up in the algorithm, gets more eyeballs in here. And it's greatly appreciated, man. For real. For real. All right, let me see if there's any more pre-live questions while you guys ask me more questions. All right, so I think that's all the anime pre-live questions I've been asked. So let me see if you guys have any questions here. Any anime questions, folks? Any real-life questions? Anything. I'll answer anything, especially after all the goated donations. I appreciate that, man. I think I missed your thoughts on Obito versus Pain and Conan when Conan fought Obito with Prep. Interesting. It's an interesting scenario. With Pain and Conan against Obito, with Conan having that prep. you could theoretically, let's see, how would this go? They'd obviously have a better chance. Rationally speaking, you could easily deduce that, right? The odds for them would be better in their favor, clearly, because you have Pain by Conan's side. Maybe if Pain fucking almighty pushed him into the 600 billion paper bombs and Conan blows him up, something like that, they'd have a good shot, very good shot at beating him. And even if Obito uses the Izanagi again, maybe Pain could do it again, but then Obito would be prepared for it, and the prep time would be void because Conan already used it. They'd have a good shot. I say that. What's 57 times 5? Do that in my head. 5, bring up 3. 5 times 7. No, it'll be 5 times 5, 25. Plus 3, 28. 285, I believe, from the top of my head. Let's see. Let's redo that. 57 times 5. Bring up 5 times 5, 25. Add 3, 28. 285. There you go. 3 squared. That would be 27. What if Conan was there during the Pain invasion? If she was there, like aiding Pain, there'd be more damage done. Naruto would have to worry about him, by the way. Worry about her as well. She wouldn't be that problematic for Naruto, I feel like but it would be an added, worry that he would have, which would make the overall scenario more difficult for him. He'd probably be more defeated quicker because Conan could kind of distract him with her paper jutsu and shit like that, and then Pain would capitalize on that. So, oh, I thought you meant 3 to the 3rd power. Sorry. Yeah, it's 9. You're right. That's an L for me, man. 3 squared. For some reason, I thought it was 3 to the 3rd. You're right. It is 9. Ask me a different one. I won't get it wrong. 8 Raikages, 2 Shadow Clone Jutsus, 1 Earth Style Mud Wall, 3 Kamehamehas. Jesus. Yeah, exactly. That's what happened to War. 3 times 3 is 9. Correct. You got me. That's what I get for doing it in my head. Quickly. How would the war go? 20 times 4, really? 3 cubed is 27. There you go. 3 to the 3rd power. 20 times 4, 80. 1 minus 2, -1. How would the war go if Jiraiya and Shisui was brought back? Kabuto said he could bring him back due to Jiraiya DNA and Pain's rod. And Shisui DNA from Danzo, but then Obito said, "Don't push your luck." Let me read that again. How would the war go if Jiraiya and Shisui were brought back? Kabuto said he would bring him back. They would have to deal with those two, right? Oh, Shisui would be a problem. But Shisui had no eyes. Would they hypothetically be regenerated? Like, would he have the Kodo again? And then that would be problematic because if he gets Naruto and Sasuke and Kodo, it's over. That would be a huge problem. Jiraiya, they'd have to take care of him. I don't think he'd be that difficult to deal with now with KCM levels and Sasuke's level. So, yeah. By the way, folks, I miscalculated on 3 squared. I'm actually a decently good arithmetic analyst, okay? I'm decent. So that was a big L. I'm going to swallow it with pride, all right? See here. Have you been keeping up with the debates with Weeb? Oh, on the Discord? I feel bad for the guy, man. I really do. But he does it to himself. Shit. Cancel me because I couldn't fucking do 3 squared on top of my head, man. I apologize. I'm canceled. See you guys. Best ways to lose even more weight. I work out and eat good. Best ways to lose even more weight. Okay, so I would argue that diet is almost more important than the physical exertion that you have to put yourself through. So you need to be in a caloric deficit and it varies from body to body and body type to body type, height, all that, your BMI. You got to figure out your caloric deficit, like how much calories can you eat, what's the cap, and stick to that. And the more you work out, the lower it's going to be. Yes, it is rigorous. Like, you got to eat less the more you work out. Actually, it's the other way around. The more you eat, and the less you eat, I guess technically you can work out less because you're not intaking as many calories, right? So you got to find the calorie deficit. Find that for you. It's different for everybody. Maybe go to a website and calculate like it'll spitball a number for you. Start there. If you see a good rate of decrease in weight, then that's a good cap for you. If it's not working, lower it by 100 or 100 until you get to a good, like a sweet spot. And then the good thing is the more you work out, you could eat more because you're burning more calories, so you're not going to be in a surplus, right? Which makes you gain weight. Eating is a big thing, and then eating the right foods as well. A lot of people just eat like shit. They're like, oh, I'll eat a little bit of shit. That's not going to work. You need to eat clean. So your body eating clean stuff, it just guarantees a loss of weight, right? Like, saturated fats are bad for you. You want to avoid saturated fats, things that are hard to break down. It's tough, but that's the way it has to be done. Kakuzu versus Pain. Kakuzu has raw durability. He scales to all the bijou, and he's omnipotent. He has raw durability. Raw durability is the utmost power scaling trait that you have in the Naruto verse. Raw durability is herald throughout the Naruto verse, and he beats Naruto, he beats Ishiki, he beats Damon. I'm sorry, it's just facts. Gotta go, but thanks for your time. For sure. Appreciate it, Miriam. And appreciate you being a good sport. Well, it's not like I said anything to you directly, but appreciate you not using it, having them in attacks like most girls do. So. Noodle says Caucasus Multiverse in my DM. Dude, fuck Noodles, man. You guy's a fucking rat. Sasuke gonna have to call up Taka for that one. Facts. Sasuke and Deidara versus Sasuke instead of Obito being there. Sasori and Deidara versus Sasuke instead of Obito being there. Do you mean when trying to remember when that was? Sasori and Deidara versus Sasuke instead of Obito being there. If you can remind me when that was, I could probably answer it. I'm not recalling when that was. Kakuzu killed Hashirama back in the day without any of the hearts. True story. Exactly. That's all you need. Alright. Alright, folks. Any questions you may have at all, I'll be answering these pre-live questions for now. Someone asked, there's actually some decent questions here, actually. Let me go back to the... let's see here. Someone asked, why can I never find my car keys? Lack of awareness, that's all I could say. Have you been keeping up with any of the drama between people recently in your Discord? A little bit. It's entertaining. But I don't really like when people tag me like it's none of my fucking business. I'm not, your fucking dad. Like, that one guy, I'm not gonna say his name again, but he keeps tagging me. Like, I don't give a fuck, dude. You're dumb, and they're roasting you for it. It's none of my concern. Like, why the fuck would I care? Why would I help you? So fight your own battles. It's debate world. Debate your way out of it. Okay, someone asked, what separates a good debater from a mediocre and a mediocre from a bad debater? A good debater from a mediocre. Let's talk about a bad debater, which we've seen before. I'm sure many of you have. They're usually ratty. They usually don't have the knowledge or the rhetoric, right? They usually don't have the knowledge nor the rhetoric, so they look like shit. Right? They get fucking fodderized, clapped, humiliated, verbally fucking assaulted. That's a bad debater. Now, a mediocre one I would describe like a decent, not decent, but average. They have okay rhetoric, maybe decent knowledge. They can, create and kind of construct a decent coherent argument, but they can't like really build, you know, more solid arguments because they don't look at the minuscule details. You know, they don't rationalize every specific angle of every specific detail of every specific panel, right? That's the difference between the greats and the average debaters. You can go and extrapolate extremely subtle events to further reinforce your premise, right? That's what makes a great debater. There are other strategies involved, right? Like questioning everything. You know, you question every argument that your opponent has, and that makes them have to further elaborate and build upon the arguments already presented. So if you're mediocre, you're gonna have a tough time against a good debater, a great debater. So experience is how you build those traits. You know, to marshal your arguments, to get all your information straight, right? That's what it takes. So to be great, I guess you could say. What's going on? Raw ability, exactly. And he had to fight against Datara and Toby. Let me read this again. When Sasuke wanted answers where Itachi was, and he had to fight Datara and Toby. Oh, yeah. I remember now. So you're saying if it was Sasori and Datara, that would be problematic. Because Obito was just fucking around. He had no intention of doing anything. Sasori would be dead ass. He'd probably die that night, or that day. He would have died. He would have died that day. So yeah, I couldn't recall, but yeah. I'm a bad debater because I'm not about to open up to page 42 to try and prove a point. Hey, against a great one, sometimes that's what it takes, you know. You do got to go to like page 84 line 2 -2. Like that's how specific they get because they have the knowledge for it. You know, they can reference a very specific minuscule detail in a panel because they have that knowledge. You know, they've done the studies. And that's in any topic, you know. So, Batman, let's have a moment of silence for Weeb. I don't try to debate people, though. You don't have to debate, you know. I say, especially in my Discord, you don't have to debate. I just think it's good to have verbal competency. Not to say that people that don't debate don't. It's not true. But verbal competency is a weapon that you could use in a world where physical interactions and physical violence is punished, right? Verbal competency, battles of verbal, you know, where you marshal your arguments is not illegal. You know, you can legally assault each other verbally. And that's one of the best ways that conflict resolution takes place. You know, whether it's on a topic, whether it's a personal issue, the ability to marshal your arguments is very important in many fields of discipline. You know, so, and in just everyday life, it's important. It also garners respect, right? When you're able to marshal your arguments, when you're able to create these articulate and sophisticated premises that are very hard to poke holes into, you garner respect, right? You're looked at as a intellectual kind of entity that is to be respected. Now that's the importance of verbal competency. So, you know, and everyone strives to be the top, you know, to be at the top. So it's a very admirable thing to try and strive for. Let's see here. Why is an Naruto community full of ratty people who care more about winning a debate than what is right? It's because there's a lot of egotistical, prideful individuals in there. Because when you're ratty and intellectually disingenuous, it doesn't allow you to improve, right? Because you're not willing to be open-minded. You're not willing to accept your defeats. You're not willing to look at yourself in the mirror and realize your flaws. The flaws in your rational deduction, the flaws in your ideology, your flaws on your presuppositions as far as power scaling. You got to be able to look at yourself in the mirror and make adjustments, right? Everyone, no matter who you are, even Seth the programmer or fucking, you know, Destiny or someone. So, you know, the top of the food chain, even they have to constantly adjust and improve. It's an inevitable outcome, you know. So, and when you're a rat, right, not only do you have a lowly reputation, but you're fucking retarded. You know, you're fucking retarded, and that's sad. You know, you live in your own delusional, subjective, you live in your own subjective and delusional bubble, and you don't allow anyone to pop that bubble. You harden the bubble, and you live in your own delusional little world, where only you are right. When in reality, in the real world, where there's only one truth, you're a fucking dumbass. And that's how most people look at you, unless they appeal to you emotionally, which we know some people. You know, some people are fucking dumb, but they have these goons that perceive them as these intellectually superior people, when in reality they're fucking delusional. You know, so I think everyone should look at themselves in the fucking mirror and make adjustments. Everyone has to. All of us do. So yeah, most of the time the winner of the debate isn't who is actually right, it's who is better of getting away with lying. Sometimes, I would argue when it comes to ambiguous topics, right, like anime, where there's ambiguity embedded and you can't really say objectively from an objective lens who's stronger, it really comes down to who can more efficiently articulate their premise. Whoever does it more articulate and has a more rational perspective is going to win. A good example is, let's think here. One that's contentious, but there's debates to be had. Maybe like Sasuke versus Naruto. Someone asked me this, actually. I'll discuss it. So at the end of Shippuden, Naruto versus Sasuke. What do we see? They're very relative. They're going blow for blow. They're fucking each other up. At the end of the fight, they're fucking about to collapse on top of each other, punching each other. But what's the key difference? Naruto didn't have killer intent. Sasuke did. That's the difference. And from that, you can rationally deduce one was holding back, one wasn't. One was holding back, one wasn't. That's the difference. So you can deduce on the balance of probabilities, it's more likely that Naruto would win. Out of 10 fights, he would win slightly more. Slightly. Because he lacked killer intent. Right, so you gotta be able to kind of extrapolate things like that. So calling the rats out, I love it. Yeah, it's sad to see, and it's not just in this community, it's all communities. I fucking see rats everywhere. It's fucking upsetting, man. They're all over the place. From our community, the political community, the red pill community, all these communities. There's fucking rats everywhere. And it's our jobs to exterminate them, to expose them. That's our job. When you're an intellectually genuine person, that's your job. So simple as that. Simple as that. The rats, they're willing to live by the sword, but these rats ain't willing to die by it. They're never willing to accept defeat. When in reality, that's all they take is L's. That's all they take. So it is what it is. What's going on, AJ? No UFC tonight. It's getting difficult to do that because I don't want to incriminate myself, but they're expensive. You know what I'm saying? They're expensive. So, what do you think Itachi's reaction would be if Sasuke was killed by Data and Sasori? Oh, if that happened, there would be blood. There would be blood. And Itachi would be bloodlusted. That, with it, Sasuke Uchiha was the most prioritized thing in his whole life, right? He was willing to fucking massacre his whole fucking family and fucking make everyone see him as a piece of shit to spare Sasuke. So if someone killed him, they would have to pay for it. There would be vengeance. And we would see a different side of Itachi. I guarantee that. He would fucking wreck their shit. And probably do it brutally. No mercy. Itachi would fuck their shit up. So that would be a bad day for them both. That's all I gotta say. We're Hello Kitty type shit. Facts. Exterminate or help them ascend to Chad status. I agree. You're right. Some rats try to save them. But here's the thing. You can't save people that don't want to be saved. It's like J. Cole said. She don't want to be saved, you know. So don't save her. If they're willing to change, they're willing to open their minds up to reality and realize there are many flaws, then you can help them ascend. But if they don't want to be saved, don't save them, you know. Go to response. Noodles don't want to be saved. Yeah, that guy lives in his own little delusional bubble, man, for sure. Just let him continue. To me, he doesn't mean nothing to me. I'll never debate that little shit. So there's so much more I could say on him, but you know, someone would have to pay me a good amount to do that. I don't give a fuck about him. So I've seen every video on what he did to Seth and shit. I know everything, you know. So fuck him. Fuck that motherfucker. Who the fuck is Noodles? Let's just say an irrelevant little rat. That's all I could say. And to all those people that talk shit on my video, on the one I did about him, cry me a fucking river, man. I got paid for it, and I enjoyed it. Cry me a fucking river if you're protecting that little fuck. I don't give a fuck about that motherfucker. So, y'all just mad Kakuzu solos. Exactly. I'm fucking heated that Noodles is right about that. I am fucking flabbergasted that Kakuzu is omnipotent and has raw durability. I'm extremely offended by that reality, you know? So, can't blame me. Can't blame me. Debate me, bro. Debate me. Yeah, fuck that motherfucker. But anyways, there's no reason to discuss any more about that fucking fodder. Okay, I kind of answered this question. Someone asked, what is your definition of rat in terms of debating? Okay, I'll answer it specifically. Definition of a rat in debating is when someone's intellectually disingenuous, right? So they'll have a lot of non sequitur. They'll try to kind of create these potholes for you to fall in, right? So there's a good word that I forgot. A sophist? Is that the word I'm looking for? I believe that's the word that I've heard before. Let me look it up. I don't want to use the wrong word. Give me a second. Yes, someone who's a sophist is a great rat. They use fallacious reasoning that sounds sophisticated and articulate, but it is fallacious once you peel back the layers, right? They do that, and also, they're never willing to concede. They use non sequiturs to avoid conceding for the sake of the debate, for the sake of winning the debate, which is intellectually disingenuous. So, those are the two main strategies of most rats in debating. They're sophists. Some of them are clever fallacious. Some of them are cleverly fallacious. Impressive. You know, impressive. So, Kimawari versus Haku. I think Bowman wins, but let me know what you think. I agree. I think Kimawari, not Kimawari, what the fuck am I talking about? I think Kimimaro probably wins. He seems to have a better feat in the work. I mean, he's able to like do something against KC and Naruto, if I'm not mistaken, you know. And then Kakashi deals with Zabuzu and Haku, if I'm not mistaken, when he gets like a mental amp. He's like pissed off that all these Edos have been reawakened, and he kind of flexes. So I'd probably Kimimaro. Who would win in debate? Noodles or Sakashi 6'9"? Sheesh. Takashi 6'9". Back, Sand Eater. Yeah. Alright, folks. Someone asked me a power scaling question. Who would win between Naruto and Goku, both at their full respective powers in an equal states battle? So shout out to you for this question. It's a good question. Naruto just has more of an arsenal. He can create thousands of shadow clones that are equivalent in caliber to himself. That would fodderize Goku if he's equal in stats. He's more intelligent than Goku. He could use Goku's chivalrous nature against him. There's a lot of things he could do. You know. So probably Naruto. Goku being in either MUI or True UI from the most recent chapter, Naruto in full Kurama cloak. Yeah, that's the same question. Sorry. So yeah, Naruto. Alright. What are your thoughts on 20 times 4 equals 100? Get help. That's all I could say. Get help. All right. That's all the pre-live stream questions. So folks, hit me with any questions you may have. I believe I've answered all the pre-live stream questions. Shout out to all you guys for asking. Shout out to all the donations as well. These are the extra golden ones up here, so I appreciate it. The most broken fusion in Dragon Ball Super. What characters you picking? The Xeno twins. Fuse them. I mean, could they get any more powerful? They control everything. Besides that, how about Black Frieza and Gohan Beast? How would that be? Would that fuck with Whis? Would Whis have trouble? I don't know. That could be a possibility, you know. Or Jiren and True UI Goku, Broly, Jiren. That'd be fucking broken. You know, there's a few of them. Yeah, that'd be crazy. Noodles thinks he's on something that nobody else sees with this Kakasu slamming pain thing. We all trapped in a Genjutsu. Yeah, it's some fucking delusional horseshit. What if Itachi went to the Raikage summit? I think Seth just did a video on this and I reacted to it. I agree with what would most likely happen. Okay, if it's just Itachi, that kind of changes things though. I think he would catch the most problematic person in the Genjutsu first. With his deduction skill, he would figure that out pretty quickly. It's probably the Raikage. He would catch him in a Genjutsu. He would be done. If it's a healthy Itachi, it'd be even more problematic for the 5 Kage. He could probably use more than one Genjutsu. He could probably use the Susanoo. It'd be a huge problem. He'd probably defeat everybody. If it's sick Itachi, that's different. The stamina issues could be problematic against all those Kage and all those, you know, right-hand men that the Kages had. I would still lean towards Itachi either way. He's a problem, so. The Edo Tensei scaling is goofy. Every trash character that gets your name gets a power buff. I agree. They do. You're right. Fucking Haku, Kimimaru. What the fuck? I agree. Itachi that slaughtered the clan versus Obito that helped him. Versus Obito that helped him. That's a good one. It's hard to kind of gauge where Itachi was at that point. I feel like Obito would have superior combat speed, most likely, just based off feats alone. He has just blatantly more superior combat speed and reaction times as well, based off his fight against Minato, and he's older here, so he's wiser, probably even faster, more proficient with the Kamui. So I would lean towards Obito. Yeah. Itachi has not used Black. Yeah, he didn't really realize that till later as an Akatsuki member how to use the Amaterasu. So that I don't think that would be in the equation yet. So that's true. Or the Susanoo. Yeah, you're correct. Most likely not. Would it technically be possible for Kefla and Vegito to do some fusion dance and make an ultimate fusion of fusions? That would be interesting. So you'd have 4 in 1. I feel like Toriyama would have to sort that out and kind of deduce whether that's a possibility. So you have 4 souls fusing into 1. And I wonder if that would change the multiplier. Probably would. That would be very interesting. You know, maybe that's how they beat fucking Black Frieza or something. I don't know. Gohan Beast, I feel like is gonna fight Black Frieza eventually. That's what I think is gonna happen. So, most likely. All right, folks. Any other questions here? Do you think the Link Vision counters Minato's Flying Raijin for pain? Do you think the Link Vision that Minato has counters Minato's Flying Raijin? You mean if he were to hypothetically teleport one pain away, that they would still be able to see, that Nagato would still be able to see what's going on? I think he was, as far as that's concerned, I think it would, but yeah. Do you blazy? You mean I smoke? No. Leave it clean living, you know. Try to keep the temple pure, I guess you could say. Diet wise, lifestyle wise, you know. Could they react to fight somehow with the Link Vision? I don't think so. I don't think they react to that kind of speed. It's instantaneous, right? The Flying Raijin is instantaneous, and even Minato, just combat speed is reaction times, I guess specifically, are ridiculous. So probably not. Rationally, that's probably what I would say. Jonin Minato versus the 5 Kage. Interesting. Well, he's faster than everybody. Some are under the impression that the 4th Raikage is faster now than he was when he fought Minato. I mean, if you presuppose that, sure. But then you could argue Minato got faster too. As he became a Hokage, maybe he got faster. But I would rationally deduce that he's still faster, because the Raikage kind of still states that he's still faster than me. Like, he kind of states that. So I would say he would be faster than everybody. Now the question is, could he take everybody out? And then here's another interesting question: would the Raikage's speed be quick enough if Onuki gave him that whatever kind of jutsu he uses to amp his speed? Would that be enough to equalize, or maybe in fact surpass Minato's speed? That's something that really can't be answered. It's a possibility. If you presuppose that it can, Minato might fall to them. The Flying Rising would be problematic, though. There's a lot of factors that you kind of have to presuppose, but based on what I would presuppose, I would lean towards Minato. I would lean towards him because of his combat speed, his reaction times. If anything, he could BFR their ass, if you had to. So, last resort. I think he's fast enough to do so. Do you think any character with light speed in Naruto? Probably the upper tiers. The upper tier characters. I know the Haku shit, she stated as light speed. If anything, you can just counter and say, well, that's only when she's within her mirrors, if anything. So you can argue there were light speed characters in part 1. Yeah, going back to that, with Haku and shit. Do you believe Shishui's Danzo level? I feel like he was stronger than that, to be honest. It's interesting, especially when you look at the evidence stream manga. Yeah, that's an interesting discussion, because in the anime, what we can only deduce, he was not, right? He got fucking blitzed and he got his eye ripped out by Danzo. He got his ass whooped. And in the manga, he got poisoned by the Aburame clan, which from that you can imply Danzo didn't think he could handle Shishui in the manga. So that from that you can extrapolate Shishui's superior. So I would say he's probably superior in the manga. In the anime, it seems to be different. I will go with Danzo. And that was without Sharingan amps, and that was without Hashirama cells, that was without all the amplifications to his body. It just seems kind of weird, I wish they could have stuck to the manga storyline, but they didn't. But you can only deduce that Shishu was inferior. I mean, you got his fucking eye ripped out, you got blitzed, got his ass whooped. So, yeah. The games, same thing. So, alright, folks. Any questions? Any and all? Red Pill, anime, comic books, politics, if I know about it. Controversial shit. The meaning of life, whatever. I'll answer it all. Especially after today's donations. You guys are fucking goated for sure. Appreciate you all for the donations once again. I gotta give my my gratitude, man. That's really goated shit. All of you. So, I love you guys. For sure. And I intend to deliver. Pineapple on pizza. I'll eat it, but I won't like ask for it. If someone else buys the pizza and there's already they already put pineapple, I'll eat it. But if I'm buying the pizza myself, I'm not gonna say put pineapple on it. So it's edible for me, but I'm not gonna say I love it. It's alright, Why do people think that Tobirama beats Caseum to Minato? It's because of the whole Jubito thing, right? But then there's arguments against that bullshit. One, Jubito was increasingly more and more mentally nerfed as time went on. As time went on, his resolve would begin to dissolve. Why? Because of Naruto. Naruto was his parallel when he was young. He was a mirror image of himself when he was young. He was what he wanted to become. Naruto is what Obito would have been. And that slowly dissolved his conviction. That dissolved his overall ability. I think Jubito, yes, was stronger than everybody, but he wasn't at an optimal level. There's always the notion that he wasn't completely mastered Jubito till towards the end. So it's not exactly like Tobirama fucking blitzed and fucked up Jubito anyway. There's context that you have to take into consideration. So it's not black and white. It's not that simple of a dichotomy. That would be a false dichotomy. So, And if you compare KCM to Minato to Tobirama, I mean, he's moving side to side with Naruto, right? And I believe he even does it when Naruto's in KCM2 stage mode, when he's able to almost threaten Jubito to a certain extent. He's starting to get to a new caliber. It's just not the case, more than likely, you know. So, all right, folks. Let's see what other questions you may have. Give me a second. Shout out to all you guys for the questions, by the way. It's good questions. Let's see here. Any conspiracy theories you believe? Good question. Let's think this through. Any conspiracy theories? I don't know if aliens is a conspiracy theory, but I do believe there's other life forms in other, on other celestial bodies, not just Earth. I think there are, in theory, endless numbers of celestial bodies in endless numbers of galaxies that have endless numbers of solar systems. So it's only rational to deduce the possibility, statistically, that there are similar setup parameters in a certain solar system that isn't ours that allow for life to be sustained, right? And I don't think that's too outlandish to assume or believe in. So it's out there somewhere. I think there's some other organisms, maybe made up of a completely different chemical formula or different physiology than our own, but I feel like they're out there somewhere. Maybe they're superior in intellect and technological innovation. Maybe they're inferior. Who knows? Maybe they don't have fucking eyes. Maybe they're not even remotely close to our own, built. Maybe they're fucking, I don't know. Maybe they are green. Maybe there's something else. There's something out there. So, your take on our justice system. I think it can be very immoral and tons of equity issues. Your thoughts? The justice system. Now, here's something to take into consideration. There will never be a perfect one, right? There is no such thing as a perfect justice system where justice is handed every single time. Now, is our system corrupted? Of course. Every system has corruption. The way ours is set up, right? So if you look at the overall premise of this system, we got the judge and we got the jury in most cases. Now, that allows for differences of opinion, right? To give a guy a fair shot. A flaw in it, right, that can't be avoided because of technological innovation is bias. Bias will always exist in a system where there's technology, right? Trying to get an unbiased jury, it's fucking impossible, especially the higher the caliber of the case, the more likely the jury is familiar with the case, which inevitably results in bias. Even from the fucking judge himself, there will be bias. And then again, you got to take into consideration just ingrained bias from their very ways of living, from their very experiences, the judge, the jury. So it's definitely flawed. But then again, I can't even think of a way to kind of negate that very flaw. That's impossible. There will always be bias. Now, I'm trying to think of some key issues that can be changed. There are certain, crimes that are held in higher esteem than others that shouldn't be. I think there's one that's a statistic, and it goes back to the argument of like a racist justice system. I believe it was like if a certain race had Coke and a certain race had Coke, it was different times of that they had to serve in prison. I think that was the case. That was definitely corruption or ingrained racism in the system or some bullshit. That's horseshit. Weed as well. Like, why the fuck are people going to prison for fucking weed? Like, they're grown ass adults. If they fuck up their own life, that's not a crime. That's on them. Fucking weed is fine. It's a natural substance from the earth. It's like fucking lettuce. Obviously, it's much different. It has, different effects. It's not just something you eat. But what the fuck? Why are people going to prison for fucking weed? I don't understand that. It should be legalized all across the nation. And I don't even fucking smoke. But it's fine. There is a valuable resource ingrained in weed, and that's CBD. CBD fucking helps kids with fucking seizures and shit. You know, I know THC is the part of it that's contentious, and they're like, that's not good for you. If you're a grown man, why the fuck do you care? It's none of your business what that grown man's doing. You know, it's horseshit. So as far as drugs, I think the severity should be lessened from a federal standpoint and from a state standpoint in some states. Honestly, it's bullshit. The fuck is that? You know. Another thing, I don't want to get fucking controversial, but might as well. The whole thing when it comes to pedophilic advances between men and women. Men get fucking years. Women get months. Yeah, the guy clapped his teacher. But the bitch did the same thing that the other fucking asshole did that's a male teacher. Why the fuck is she only getting 3 months? Or 6 months? That's fucking horseshit. She should be fucking in prison for fucking whatever it is, 10 years. That's not fair. She's a grown-ass fucking adult, did the same shit he did. They're both fucking pedophiles, pieces of shit, you know? The fuck is that? That's horseshit. I would love to ask a judge, what the fuck is this? Or ask a legislator, someone that does litigation for a living, what the fuck is this law? The fuck, man? You know, that's horseshit. So, I don't want to sound biased, but I was walking to work in the past a long time ago, and there was a million cop cars at the gas station, like some J vibes, and the detective, when I got there, they pointed guns. And they got to remind you I had not done anything wrong. I think there's always going to be a power complex with these guys. You know, they have like this superiority complex. Some cops just inevitably are going to have it. Corrupted cops, crooked cops. It's bullshit, you know. These cops think they can get away with it because they are the enforcement entity. They're not the entity being regulated. They're the regulators. So when they're out and about in the streets, they want to flex their power. That's not ethical. That's not morally righteous. That's tyrannical, you know. And there are cops like that. Would I say there's a vast majority of them? No, I don't. I think that's bullshit. The whole thing like, oh, all cops are corrupt, all pigs. No, they're not. There's some very good cops out there. Most of them are, I would argue, good cops. But there are some bad apples, and they're tyrannical, and they shouldn't have the job. And I would also attribute that to subpar training from police departments. Subpar training. Inadequate psychological evaluations. This motherfucker should not be a cop. He's fucking punching people, you know, beating the shit out of them before arresting him for no real probable cause. This motherfucker is not psychologically well enough or competent enough to be a fucking cop. But the motherfucker is a sergeant or whatever his role is, his rank is. That's bullshit. That's tyrannical. You know, and that happens sometimes, unfortunately. So it's bullshit. I think systems need better training, better psychological evaluations, and just more strenuous regulation. I mean, these guys have the power of life and death in their hands, right? They could fucking kill you with a fucking gun. And if they're not psychologically well or competent enough, why the fuck do they have a gun in their hand in the first place? Why the fuck did they get the job? At some point, the department has to be held liable for this bullshit, you know? So, corruption always exists. In the grand scheme of things, I am more right-leaning, politically speaking, on the political spectrum. I think most cops are good cops, but there is always the bad apples. So, always. People know the dangers of drugs before they do it, so it's time to crack down on it so hard. Agreed. And this is a fallacy for me when it comes to incarcerating for drugs. They're fucking addicts. A jail cell isn't going to stop that. You know, put them in rehab. They're not criminal. You know, that's the difference. They're not criminal. If they're selling drugs or shooting people over drugs, okay. But if they're just using it on themselves and they're having problems physically and mentally, why the fuck should they go to prison? They need fucking help. You know what I'm saying? If they're drug dealers and shit, that's different. But if they're just, you know, shooting needles up their fucking arms or some shit, why are they getting 10 to 20 years for that? They should be in a fucking hospital. That's what they should be. So. Alright. I have no record. I have tons of negative experience with the cops. I feel like it's due to my skin color. Unfortunately, yeah. It's, racism, I think, has died quite a bit since 1950, 1960. Clearly, right? Since Brown versus Board, right? The Supreme Court case. when segregation was systemically ended. Will it ever be socially? I think we can only get to a certain threshold in an imperfect world. There'll always be a little bit. I think we're at a pretty good spot overall. There's always going to be segregation and oppression to some extent from different variables, but there's a certain point you can't really pass because we're imperfect. We are imperfect beings. That's not an excuse to keep. That's not an excuse to not keep trying, but yeah, essentially. Hey, don't you think the justice system is highly against the man? Absolutely. When it comes to divorce, absolutely. It's absolute bullshit. Everyone should get a prenup. Everybody. Or not get married in the eyes of the state. Get married in the eyes of the church. Then they don't. If you get a divorce, that bitch ain't taking shit from you. Not a fucking dime. She don't need your fucking money. Especially if she cheated on you or some shit. Why the fuck are you getting half of my shit? Fuck that shit. That's bullshit. So it's extremely one-sided. And it's extremely unethical. 90% of court cases as far as child custody go to the woman. Alimony, 80 to 90% is paid to women. Child support, ridiculous amounts most of the time. And then there is no regulation as far as how to spend that money. These bitches be spending it on their fucking nails instead of the child's meal. Like, what the fuck? That's horseshit, and that's upsetting. It upsets me because the bitch is supposed to be paying for diapers and fucking this other shit. Instead, you're buying fucking nails, going to the club to get your back blown out. What is that? There should be laws on that shit. This should be child support money only, not money for you to fucking use on your Birkin bag or fucking going to the club getting your back blown out. Like, what the fuck is that, man? That's bullshit. Bullshit, and that's corruption, and that's favoritism. That's a fucking problem, So, the fuck is that? That's one of the biggest problems in this country, is the favoritism. Now there's accountability the man has to take. Why did you marry that whore? Why did you marry that hoe? That's your fucking problem, and you know how the system's set up. So we gotta take accountability too. I can't just blame the system. If you're a fucking dumbass that married a fucking hoe, and you have a kid with her, and she cheats on you and gets her back blown out by other dudes, half your shit is gone. So not only does she cheat on you and get her back broken out by another dude, she takes half your shit and takes the kid. That's the world we live in. So while we can't bitch and complain about it, there's two options. Complain or adjust. That's the only thing you got to do. So my advice would be, don't get married in the eyes of the government. Get a prenup if you are, or get married in the eyes of the church, or don't get married at all. Honestly. That's the facts. I'm just here listening to the stream. Johnny Depp versus, dude, honestly, fuck Amber Heard, man. Fuck that bitch for lying on his name. Why the fuck does he have to pay her anything? What the fuck did he do? Horseshit. Fuck that bitch. Like Bezos' wife, she's literally the richest woman in the world just because she divorced top 10 richest guy. Exactly. What the fuck? You didn't build Amazon. You weren't on those. You know how Bezos started? Was in fucking. He had a truck of books. That's how he started his business. That bitch wasn't there. That bitch wasn't grinding in the streets, fucking selling books, building this fucking empire. You fucking moved in. Women move in. They don't help build. That's the reality, man. Most women move in. They don't want you when you're on the bottom. And there are women out there that are. Shout out to them. They're goated. Those are the type of women you should strive to obtain. But most women move in. And then they take over. They take over half your shit. It's fuck, man. It's sad. You're not wrong, Jay. I lived through it. That was forced to never have anything to do with me. Hey, man. Yeah, and that sucks, bro. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. And that's just an injustice that we have to inevitably deal with. It's bullshit. Didn't find out the truth until I was 18. Horseshit. Yeah, horseshit. There's literally audio of her saying she hit him. Exactly. What the fuck did that? What does he have to pay for? What guilt? What crime did he commit there? The bitch is saying, I'm gonna hit him. I just don't understand why he paid anything. And you know what? I'd rather be a guy that has a logical mind instead of getting pussy by lying to women. Now, here's the inevitable truth. When you're trying to get bucks, you're going to have to lie to women. You're going to have to tell them these, really pretty stories, these pretty dreams, and sell them these bullshit dreams when you're just trying to get bucks. This is not a relationship. You have to lie to them. Because women have been indoctrinated to look at themselves as perfect. They're all 10s. All of them. The mean ones, the fat, nasty ones, they're all 10s. All of them are fucking 10s in this world. No, they're not. They're not 10s. And you got to set the record straight. If you're with a girl and she doesn't respect you, man, on to the next bitch. On to the next. Don't. This is what I call it one-itis when you get stuck on one bitch. That's one-itis. There's plenty of girls in the sea. And if a girl's disrespecting you, she's treating you like shit, she's entertaining other guys, fuck that. That's bullshit. So, it is what it is, man. Many times your father wants to be there for you, but to be honest, the mother's in the way. A father is the key part to avoiding degenerate children. Women are important too. The mothers are important for nurturing. The men are important for the structure. That's why the family nucleus is the heart of a powerful nation. Not just a powerful household, a powerful nation. If you want a strong country, it starts with strong families, the roots of the country itself. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, so that's my little rant on the bullshit system. But then again, can't complain about it. You just got to adjust, right? All right. What time is it? All right, folks, I'll go about 10 more minutes. Once again, goated stream. Okay, if Itachi didn't die, how far do you think he scales with the Adamir and Tosuke blade? And let's say he had his dad's eyes too and obtained EMS thoughts. How far do you think? If Itachi didn't die, how far do you think he scales with the Adamir and Tosuke blade? And let's say he has his dad's eyes too. Dude, he would be really, really fucking strong. He'd be obviously stronger than EMS Sasuke. He was equal to beginning of Warwick EMS Sasuke without EMS. So imagine him with EMS. He might hypothetically be able to contend with some Hokage that are upper tier. I'm talking maybe Minato. I'm talking maybe even Hashirama. Now that's a stretch. That's a stretch because this is all theoretical, but it's a possibility. It's a possibility. So, yeah, I think he'd be in the upper echelon. Bare minimum, like Minato level or KCM2, Naruto level. He'd be at that level. Like later on in the war, Naruto, later on in the war, EMS Sasuke. He'd be up there. So, yeah, there would be rats that will say data books says Sasuke is great. Yeah, it's fucking data books, man. With these hyperbolic statements and shit. Okay, let me say this for the women. If there's any women that have watched this stream, I love women. All right, so all that rant I just had, I'm just talking about this system, the justice system, and the reality of the marketplace dating wise. I love women. Shit. Who doesn't? What man doesn't? Just wanted to lay that out there before all these bitches come at me like, oh, you're a fucking piece of shit. No, I'm not. I love women. So, if we would not be here if it was for women. Exactly. We wouldn't fucking exist without you guys. We need you. Shout out to you guys. Yeah, exactly. Women are fucking goated. I think if he gets an EMS, he can maybe outsmart Hashirama and seal him with a Tosuke blade at that point. Yeah, theoretically, if his combat and reaction speed amplified to that magnitude and his AP is, and his AP and durability rise to those levels as well, it's very possible he could seal him. Very possible. Hello, everyone. What's going on? Positive Attitude Holmes, thanks for coming in. By the way, I haven't said this the whole stream, but I do video recommendations that I don't usually react to if for the right price. So if anybody wants me to react to something, don't send the money first. So I'll be fair. Ask me the video, and then we can negotiate a price. Just laying it out there because a couple guys have paid and have reacted to some content, including some rats for a certain price. So. Women is goated for sure, but it's just a system. Exactly. The system. Itachi with Rinnegan switch with Sasuke. Itachi with Rinnegan. You mean if he had the Rinne Sharingan? Sheesh. He'd be a force of nature. I mean, you can only assume he'd be stronger than Sasuke, right? You can only assume that. But then again, you could counter that and say, well, Sasuke is a reincarnation of Indra. So it might not be the case because Sasuke is genetically predisposed to have this ability. You know, he's the reincarnation of the most herald lineage. So maybe he wouldn't be stronger. I think 6 pass would be different. I think if there's no 6 pass involved, Itachi's stronger. I think with 6 pass, Sasuke's stronger. That's just my headcanon, but that's my theory because he's a reincarnation of Indra. So that's my, yeah. How much would it cost to make you watch a 10-hour loop video? 10 hours? Oh, shit. I'll be fair. It'd probably have to be 3 digits, though. 10 hours? Probably 150. I'm not Seth. I'm not going to say 5K. Like, no, I'm not at that level yet, to be fair. I'm not at that level to be asking for that kind of money. Probably like 150, 150, 200. Depends on the video. If it's just fucking, like, you know, some horse shit, probably 200. If it's like an actual video, 150. That'd be tough. Technically, Itachi's eyes, too. Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, they technically are his eyes. Alright. Watch the latest Dragon Ball movie. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. It's pretty good, and Gohan is a beast. I still need to watch it. I'm just lazy to go to the theater. You know, I'll watch it in Japanese online somewhere. I think you can see how Sasuke looks and just determine how Itachi would. I mean, yeah, if you want to just use that argument, like they're brothers, so they'd be pretty similar. I mean, I guess you could use that argument. Yeah. All right, folks, about 5 more minutes, unless someone generously donates another fire donation. How far would you scale Obito with MS? With MS, I mean, doesn't he already have MS? You mean a certain... If you mean, like, in the grand scheme of things, where would I scale him? Like, Orange Mask Obito? At best, he could beat someone like... He beats a lot of people. He beats, you know, early KCM Naruto. He beats early KCM 2 Naruto one-on-one. He probably beats the MS Sasuke one-on-one. Oh, with both MS? Oh, fuck. He'd be broken. I mean, he'd be broken with both MS. He might be so fast that if he did have MS, you know, KCM to Naruto and Kakashi and Guy wouldn't have beaten that day. You know, Kakashi wouldn't have the other eye. Obito would have both. They'd be fucked. You know, unless Naruto gets an amp and KCM power and he's fast enough to react. But besides that, they're fucked. He'd be too fast. Now, before people say, well, what about DMS Kakashi? Remember, he had 6 pass powers also, though. You know, so that was that added. If we're talking about just Obito, MS, no 6 pass, he won't scale to DMS. If you're talking about Obito with MS, 6 pass, he's more broken than DMS Kakashi. And he's probably fucking Kaguya up. You know, worse than Kakashi did. So, like if he took it back from Kakashi, yeah, he'd be broken. For sure. Just imagine DMS Kakashi without the 6 pass chakra, and that's how Obito looks like with DMS. But more superior, I would argue, because they're his eyes. They're actually his eyes, genetically speaking. You know, that's headcanon, of course, but that's what my argument would be. So, all right, folks, a couple more minutes, a few more questions. Again, goated fucking. This is a goated ass fucking stream. Hit the fucking like button. Get us up in the algorithm. Yeah, it's fucking goated, man. I mean, shit. Who's stronger, DMS Obito or Valley of the End Madara? Stronger, DMS Obito or Valley and Madara? I would still lean towards Madara. I think he's just in a different caliber. I don't think Obito with both MS would scale to that caliber. You know, I don't think it would be that much of a vast difference. So, Kakashi versus Kakuzu, 1v1. Kakuzu or Kakashi, by the way. Oh, if they're to fight one-on-one, hypothetically. That's an interesting battle, because I think Kakashi stated he could have done more against Kakuzu. He stated that he didn't use MS. I believe so. If I'm not mistaken, he did state something along those lines. It would be a very close battle. They seem very, very relative, I would say. So Kakashi in base, and possibly Kakashi with the regular Sharingan open, is slightly inferior. They're in the same weight class, but I would say Kakuzu is higher in that weight class than Kakashi. With MS, things would be interesting, with his Kamui and his intelligence. The hearts would be an issue. Kakuzu's raw durability would actually be an issue. He'd have to take out those hearts, and over time it would overwhelm Kakashi's durability, his physical exertion. That would be his disadvantage. I would lean. It's a tough battle. If he could hypothetically Kamui away Kakuzu and his 5 hearts simultaneously, possibly get the win, that's a possibility. I don't think it's very probable though at that point in time. I lean towards. That's a tough one. I might lean towards Kakashi. It's a tough matchup. Very tough. At the top of my head, I probably lean towards Kakashi. Slightly. With MS. That's assuming he can have it open long enough. Remember how when at 30% Itachi fought Kakashi and dodges Raikage? Yeah, Itachi's fucking broken. He folds all those guys. He folds Kakuzu, Hidan, folds him. So I think DMS Obito beats EMS hacks through hacks. His Kamui would be faster, and he'd have the Kamui shurikens. Yeah, it said it amped the speed double time, right? It made his Kamui twice as fast. You would have to kind of argue how, a speed that's increased by 2, right, would be fast enough to deal with something like Madara. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Man's always holding back even at 30%. Even Kisame was only a 30% chakra clone, and he fucking was competing with all of Team Guy plus 6 gates Guy. This guy had to go to 6 gates to even fuck with him. That's insane. If he has the Hashirama cells, he might be able to pull out a perfect Susanoo that can use that Kamui as well. I would give the edge to Obito with both eyes. Oh, with Hashirama cells included? That would be an extra amp. Yeah, agreed. That would also, increase the odds for him for sure. Kisame is a beast. Absolutely. Alright, folks. I think that'll be all. Unless someone donates again. Again, thanks for all the donations. Very goated. But some final announcements. I do plan on making a Gohan Beast versus Black Frieza video. I have to do my due diligence in the literature to come up with, valid conclusions based off the empirical evidence that is presented at this point in time. There isn't much. I do plan on doing those other videos as well. Those are going to take time because I want to make them well done. I have a debate I was supposed to do today on my Discord. Join the Discord if you haven't already. It's growing quite quickly, so shout out to you guys who have joined. And it's quite entertaining. So join that as well. And yeah, folks, I appreciate you guys all coming in. Hit the like button one more time if you haven't already. You're all goats. And shout out to all you guys, and I'll catch you next one, folks. This is Jay the Great signing out. Peace out, folks.